What I read of Mr. Alan Jacobs, an expert in statistical analysis, and from my own research on websites that are available to us, Mr. Depp's Q score, or if you're familiar with IMDb, which is Internet Movie Database, which is available to public and to the professional side, his Q score did not change dramatically. It was kind of in the middle of exactly the high and low of his Q scores overall. It was in the middle. It was at like 113, which is where it was a couple weeks before and a couple weeks after. So the op-ed didn't have any effect on his Q score, and that was reiterated by Mr. Jacobs in his deposition testimony.
And then you testified in response to an earlier question I had that people or that nobody seemed to notice the op-ed until Mr. Depp filed suit. Now that was on March 1, 2019. Do you recall?
Yes, that's when the lawsuit was filed.
And why do you say that they didn't notice until then?
Because the op-ed piece for most people in the industry kind of came and went without much fanfare or much conversation. It was much more about.
I don't think he agrees.
I don't think very many people even know it was written until the allegations were made by Mr. Depp in the lawsuit. It kind of came in and out of the radar very quickly, if anybody even saw it at all.
This isn't cross. Right. This is direct examination.
Between December 18, 2018 and November 2, 2020, our window here, has Mr. Depp continued to star in films?
So Mr. Depp, the article the op-ed piece came out December 18 and 20 of 2018. In January and February of 2019, he shot a film called Minamata, which was an independent film that it was what we call a passion project. He loved the script and wanted to do it. So he was able to film that
Dennis
after
will do cross after
piece.
this. He's the one objecting.
And then the Dior campaign,
whoever's
Sauvage,
objecting,
I don't know the exact dates of filming, but I know that it did air throughout 2019. And it's my understanding that he still may have that contract with Dior. So he continued that product endorsement. And then in in the spring and the fall, I believe it was, Mr. Depp was able to do press for the film Waiting for the Barbarians. He went to the Deauville Film Festival. He went to the Venice Film Festival. He was well received at the press conferences.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were aware.
At the same level for him in terms of his popularity over in Europe.
I think a lot of us were aware of it.
Still, he was still working on press for the films. And then, of course, he was scheduled to film Fantastic Beasts in early November of 2020.
Because Fantastic Beasts, I think, can also be tied to the UK case.
What's the objection?
Yeah.
Can we approach?
Okay. Why? I think Fantastic Beasts can be tied more closely to what happened in the UK case, and that might be why they're not getting into it. But remember, Johnny Depp is suing for defamation, which requires proof of damages. He's also
So, good afternoon, everybody. I forgot to add myself to the stream. Oscar, this is not for you to start laughing, sir. Forgot to add myself to the stream. I'm very sorry. I started this late, 10 or 11:30 my time or whatever time it was, and I had things to do, so I'm very sorry about that. We are watching the Johnny Depp trial. Right now we got an expert that is testifying to damages to both Amber Heard. There's damages now, yeah, but that's her own doing, and Johnny Depp. Now, this expert is bringing up testimony from, or damages from 2010, and his lateness and his drug habits, which is very concerning, and yes, it creates damages, that's his own doing, but, this person is being asked about damages, well, she should be asked about damages related to the op-ed. But the judge, she won't allow audio recordings of Amber Heard and Dr. Kipper and Debbie Lloyd and Johnny Depp and Jerry Judge because she's in support of Amber Heard. I don't believe people that say she's 50-50. Oh, come on, give me a break. And she's got a double standard, but she'll allow questions about damages that are not related. So I thought I would introduce this. And there's also a question if Depp will even testify again. So maybe I should change the title on StreamYard. I should probably do that. But We'll see if he testifies. It's getting later over there. I'm not sure if it's going to be today. So we'll see. Now let's go ahead and put this back up.
With respect to Amber Heard's claims for damages, on what subject have you been asked to offer your opinion?
Going to the counter.
So I was asked to look at the reputational harm and economic loss that Ms. Heard incurred due to the defamatory statements that Mr. Waldman, on behalf of Mr. Depp, made in April of 2020.
That calls for a legal
and
conclusion
again
as
in
to on
June
behalf of Mr.
2020.
Depp.
And what materials did you
You could have
review
objected to that.
in forming your opinions?
Again, many of the same materials that I reviewed for Mr. Depp's case, which was the deposition testimony, the pleadings, the discovery, all of that was included, as well as
And thank you to the
expert
ones who are
testimony
watching
that was based on
on the chat, all
statistical
2 of you.
analysis of negative social media campaigns that were created, as well as what happened. I talked to Ms. Heard's agents. I read their depositions. I talked to her publicist. I read her deposition. I talked to Ms. Heard herself to get a first-person accounting of what happened from her perspective after those defamatory statements were made. And then I looked at the, again, emails back and forth and texts back and forth.
It'll be interesting
with
how she ties damage to this and didn't tie
the
damage.
studio, Warner Brothers, and
to
other
Depp.
producers that the management
It
team
seems
was
contrary.
working with to get Ms. Heard more work.
We'll see if it is.
Now, before I go
contrary.
into the questions that I'm going to ask, I'm going to go ahead and
What is
just
she
kind of
looking
define
at?
this so that we're all on the same page going through it. The jury has seen the 3 defamatory statements. They're
We'll have to
defendants
ask those in court who she's looking
1245,
at.
1246A, and 1247. And I'm just going to refer to them as the Depp/Waldman statements in asking you all these questions. Will you understand what I'm talking about?
Yep, here we
This
go.
was-
They're
this
going
is
to try and
Heard's-
say
this
that
is
it
Heard's
was
expert.
Adam
She's
Waldman
supposed to
Describe Amber Heard's
who
career
destroyed Amber
prior
Heard,
to
which
the
is not true
publication
for
of the
obvious
Depp
reasons.
She's
Waldman
hired by
statements.
Heard's team. That's her job.
So Amber's had a long career for someone who is not, is fairly young still. She was in
Oh,
over
long
50
career.
productions, I believe including Aquaman and Justice League, but let's just say close to 50 productions. Well, certainly 50 productions before the defamatory statements were made. She had,
Oh,
a
see, now she
consistent
admits they're defamatory. This should be the end of the
working
case.
actor's career. Her agents were strategic as she started getting more work, that they wanted her to work with better and better directors, to have, the Danish Girl is a film
And we
that
heard
had
that
a strong director and a strong
from
critical
her agent.
acclaim. And then she went from
that's
that
consistent
to
with her
getting
agent, as
Justice
Emily
League,
says
which
here.
is on the bigger budget, is the bigger scale movie, and then of course Aquaman and Aquaman 2. So her career was following a very nice steady rise. And
Well,
she
she
was on
met
the
Johnny
precipice
Depp, and
of
it
a
went even
meteoric
better.
rise with
Johnny Depp was
Aquaman
the
and
main product
Aquaman
of
2
that.
prior to the statements.
Was Aquaman a successful film in terms of box office sales?
Objection. Was it the most
Aquaman was an
successful
extremely
film
successful
ever?
film. It made over $1 billion, and I believe it is the highest grossing DC comic film.
No, it wasn't.
ever.
That's accurate.
No.
Better than the agent.
What if any accolades?
What if
did
any,
Amber
ladies? Oh my
receive for her
God, I
role
can't
in
fucking
Aquaman?
stand that now.
But
What
this
if
is
any?
called Aquaman 1, just to
Whenever
make sure
I'm
we
gonna
don't get
tell my
confused.
mom
Right.
tonight
So in
when she gets
Aquaman
home.
1, there
They
were
will
What
ask
if
many
about
anything are you
emails
gonna make
audio
for
from
dinner tonight?
the director
What
and
if
the producer and
Objection
the
to
editor.
chances are
hearsay.
that you're gonna
She's
take
just
Emily
characterizing her,
to
not
Dan
quoting
to
her.
her
I don't know
classes?
where it's going. I'll overrule at the moment.
See,
Thank you.
overruled.
Stop
Woman.
arguing back a lane.
Emails from the director and the producer.
Remember, double
stating they
standard
love to
here. This
perform
judge.
the
Stating-
statement.
I'm gonna
Hearsay.
keep hammering
You
this
can't
point
say
home.
what the
Ah!
emails say, but you can summarize them or characterize
Is
them.
there
Can
an
you do
adjective
that?
Accolading emails? Emails of accolade from her, from the director and the producer.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled as to that.
Thank you.
See,
What
Woman,
type of
double
press
standard.
opportunities did Amber
It's
have
hearsay.
prior
It's
to the
pe-
Depp
but then
Waldman
again,
statements?
They're
So
gonna
she
have
used
to
an
talk
the
about
expert
press
she's allowed
really
to kind of do that.
loved working with Amber. She was on the cover of many magazines after The Danish Girl, after Justice League, after Aquaman. She was the cover girl, I think it was, of Marie Claire or Elle in the UK. She had a cover story of a big magazine in
This
Mexico,
doesn't sound like
in
there are
Australia.
damages. This kind of
They
sounds
were,
like
you know,
she's
one
doing
magazine
fucking
called
great.
her Woman of the Year, another one
in
called
terms
her
of Amber
Role
Heard.
Model of the Year.
I don't see
She
any
got a lot of
damages. Like,
press.
oh, she was the cover
Was
girl.
that
she
after
was
she
this,
released
she
her
was
press,
that.
statement?
both in magazines, but also in the press tours and the press junkets that she did for the film.
I don't see any damages.
Funny
here.
that
Were some
Superwoman
of
earned more
those
money than
California
Aquaman.
Style, Marie Claire, Elle?
I'm gonna
Shade.
mute myself.
Yes, there
real
was a
quick.
lot
I'm
of
gonna
them.
go
Leading.
look up
Yeah,
Overruled.
AF.
if
There
that
was a
is
lot
the
of them,
case
so I
that
don't remember
Aquaman
all of
was
them, but it was, you know,
the most
GQ,
successful
Elle,
DC
Marie
movie,
Claire, you know, the
because
big
I heard it was
magazines,
like
both
number
here, the UK,
25
East Europe,
in
Eastern
box
Europe,
office history
in
or
Latin
something
America.
like that. So let me go check
about
that
Teen
out
Vogue?
because
And
that
what about
annoys me.
after the
I need
release
to.
of
This is
Aquaman,
a channel of fact,
which was
and
December
I need to correct the record here.
2018? How was her press then?
Well, the press tour was doing well, and they wanted to give her a lot more press. And I think up until the defamatory statements came out, she was on deck to do a lot of press. And then it kind of,
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
She would
Please
know that from
continue.
the agent.
so the press and the request for press went silent after the defamatory statements were made, and which then the negative social media campaign ensued after that.
Now, what factors relating to social media does the entertainment industry rely on when considering an actor for a role?
I'm interested in that.
Social media becomes a big part of how studios decide to use an actor and actress in a film because they want to know how the general public feels about them. They want to know what the consumer feels about that actor. So when there's positive social media, that's a good thing for the actor. When there's negative social media, it can be very bad because not only
How
can
do you
social
determine
media
negative?
be directed at the actor or the actress themselves, but it can also be directed towards the movie, towards the movie company, towards the product that the actor or actress is working with. So it becomes very complicated and it can get very messy to continue working with an actor or an actress.
She's allowed
if
to
there's
be
a lot of
biased.
negative social media around them.
She's the hired expert for Amber
And
Heard.
after the Depp Waldman statements,
is
what
an
happened on
adversary
social
proceeding.
media?
The only person who shouldn't be biased is
After
the
the
judge.
Depp Waldman
and I don't think she
statements,
is.
social media blew up
Adversary
with
proceeding.
negative tweets
One
and
side against the
Instagram
other.
posts and, you know,
She's been
Facebook
hired
posts
by a
and
side.
Snapchat and trolling, as we call it. It was just negative. According to Mr. Schnell, there was over 1.2
That's how they're
million
calling
negative tweets about Amber using hashtags that used the words in the statement.
What
of
were the
Depp
hashtags?
Wald statements, Depp Waldman statements, excuse me,
What were the
um,
hashtags?
that 1.2 million negative statements between April of 2020 and November or January of 21. It's a lot of negative publicity. And it
Yep.
and there was just a lot of what we call noise around Ms. Heard and her work of any kind.
Can you please describe to the jury what a negative social campaign is?
So a negative social campaign would be when a fan base, or in this case,
A fan
according
base.
to both the forensic statistical analyst as well as Ms. Heard's agents and the product that she was working with, L'Oreal, and her publicist, it was a campaign that included both live accounts, live Twitter, you know, people that actually have are individuals, as well as what we call bots.
Objection, may I be heard?
All right, here come.
So they're approaching regarding the bot accounts. I don't think we really got that deep.
All right, so I
into
guess it
bot
is
accounts
the highest
with
grossing
regard
at
to
$1
the
billion
forensic,
at least.
social
Whatever it
media
was. So,
analysis,
okay, fine.
whose
I can
testimony I was
give it
really
that.
interested in,
But I
and
don't
then it
think
went
it's
off
the
the
most
rails into
successful. I heard a claim that it was
justice
the
for Johnny
most
Depp and hashtag
successful
amateur
movie
and
in
all those
box
other
office
hashtags
history.
and the negative press, but it didn't
That's
get
not
into
true.
a percentage or
You
proportion of
cannot
bot
say
accounts
that,
or anything
okay?
like that. So I don't know how she can rely on that.
There are
It's not in
Marvel. I
evidence,
love Aquaman.
but we will
I'm not
see.
just trying to say
But they are
this
trying to get to this negative PR
again,
campaign.
you know,
But again, Amber Heard is going to say, but I've seen a lot of people saying this woman is
it's
biased.
not the most
She's hired
successful
by
in
Amber Heard's side. This is an
all-
adversary proceeding.
all
So,
of box
yes.
office history.
There is going to be a lean that
All
helps Amber. These are witnesses to help her.
Other than the bots, please describe the rest of the social media, the negative social media campaign.
Other than the bots. Thank you for reminding everyone about the
The
bots.
fan base
Elaine.
was very energized by Mr. Is it?
There were two
the
people
Depp
watching. I have a feeling because I said
Depp-
woman
let
in
me-
the
let
first
me
Are you
just-
dance.
Depp Waldman?
It might have been a female
sorry.
watching.
I
I don't
got
know.
my
This
brain
is
right
just
now.
speculation on
It
my
doesn't
channel.
matter. Why don't I do
And
this? Let me
It
she
finish.
was
doesn't
like,
matter.
"Oh,
How has the
no."
negative
So she left.
social media
So there's only
campaign
one watching.
been used?
But
against
hey,
Amber
It's
Heard?
your
the other live
case in
stream
chief,
doesn't-
Elaine.
At
It
least
should
it'll get
matter.
about 30 views.
It should matter
So
to
the
you.
negative campaign has been used both to, you know, let's fire Amber off of Aquaman to the product that she had an endorsement contract with was L'Oreal, the makeup. And every
How do you
time
know?
that L'Oreal mentioned Amber Heard
I'm not sure
and the
how you know
product
that.
together, they would get harassed. Her publicist
How-
company
How do
was
you know?
harassed.
You're not
That's
providing
okay.
evidence.
Any kind of movie that she was related to or
I
television
just don't understand
project
this.
that she was
You're
related
allowed
to
to
got
sit up here
negative
and
attention from
say
the
bull
social
crap
media
like that. And
world.
you're, I just don't get it.
The charities that she was involved with were getting
No
hammered, if you
donations from
will,
Amber
or
Heard, that's for
bombarded
sure.
by negative social media, which made it difficult to work with Amber on any level because negativity was brought to their product, service, or film.
So it sounds like there's
And
damages to
Is that negative
the
social media
corporations,
campaign ongoing to
because
this day?
Amber Heard was so
Yes.
negative.
Okay.
Because Amber
And
Heard
you
is
were
the
talking
problem.
a little bit
because-
before I
see,
think about
that's what I'm reading.
remove
here.
Amber Heard from Aquaman 2. What were your observations with respect to that in connection to the Depp-Waldman statements?
Again, the statements, the social media campaign, whether called, remove Amber from Aquaman or, negativity for her relationship in that film, it always tended to use words that were inside the defamatory statements. They became hashtags, right? So, if it was said in the defamatory statement, they were often reiterated in the tweets and the posts.
Which is what he said.
How difficult is it for an
That's what the
actor
expert
to
said.
repair this type of negative social media?
Well, first of all, it has to stop. Okay, so once it stops, then an actor
This might be their
and
best
their
witness so far.
team can work slowly and patiently.
This
in
and I think
both maybe it's press
House Pick
interviews, maybe it's relationship
think,
with charity, maybe it's a small role in a movie and they do well and they kind of rebuild their
the
career. But it can
computer
take
expert Ram Chanel was
2, 3, 4,
their
5
better
years
one in
or
terms of the
more
two most
to
intelligent.
rehabilitate your career. But first and foremost, it needs to
And
stop.
Catherine Arnold here.
It just needs to stop so that they can,
Rebuild.
the consumer can get beyond it and then they
Oscar,
can
if you're watching,
reactivate
let me know
their
if you
career
can hear me.
by doing their work again.
Describe Amber Heard's reputation after the Depp-Waldman statements.
Well, the reputation, I guess, depends on who you're talking to, but in the public, it's been very negative. In the industry, they like her work, but they can't work with her right now,
It's too
again,
much noise.
because every time her name is mentioned, the negativity flares up again. So it doesn't make sense for them to try to make a movie which costs millions of dollars and then have a lot of negativity
You don't want to
towards
have
the film or
negativity
the
flare
TV show or the product. So her world has been silent in terms of opportunities and even things
But that's her own
that she
doing.
wanted
You're
to
not
work
talking
on
about the fact
are no
that she
longer available to
lied.
her.
I believe all of this is true.
Has Amber been able to obtain roles?
How they're
after
going
the
to pin this
Depp-Waldman
to the
statements?
Waldman statements
For a long
versus
time,
the
no.
audio
Not
is
very
going to be
recently, she was
difficult.
able to do a
And
small
that cuts
independent
both
film.
ways.
Exactly.
From some people out of
she's not
you
saying
get their financing out of
oh,
Europe.
of Waldman
but
statements are
up
so
until
bad.
that, no, she
Because
has
as the
not
guy
worked.
said, justice for Johnny Depp, hashtag justice
No.
for Johnny Depp was
Based
not
on the
negative
fact
to
that
Amber Heard.
came out of Aquaman,
What was negative to Amber Heard were
what
things
should
like
her opportunity, what would you have expected?
hashtag Amber's
following the
Heard,
release
hashtag
of
we just don't like
Aquaman?
And
you,
her
Amber,
agent got into this
hashtag
as
Amber
well.
Heard is an abuser.
Up
Those
to
are three
what's
of the
going on
tweets. I
now.
think there were 5. Two
I like to
more
call
that were
Aquaman
negative, but those are
really,
ones that I remember.
Jason
her
Momoa.
Star is Born moment. It was that
Oh.
moment where not only was she a good actor, but she was
She
now
was not a good actor.
world renowned because she was in the most successful film almost of all time, if not all time, and certainly for DC
No,
Comics.
stop
She
it.
was on the
You've
poster
lost
with
me.
the very
I
handsome
had
Jason
such
Momoa,
nice
and they
things
were
to
this
say about
couple,
you.
and
Okay, now you're
she was
just trying to
so
butter her
successful
up.
movie of all
beautiful,
time.
and it was
Now you're
this
just like buttering her
extraordinary
up.
moment
Oh,
for
she's
her
the
to
best.
take off.
Yeah.
It is an
She's
extraordinary
the
movie. It's
best
a huge
ever.
film.
Agents were excited.
And this
the
movie,
producers
oh
were
my
fucking
god, it
excited.
even beat
film.
Marvel.
Everybody
It's a
just wanted to
superhero
hit the ground
film.
running and let's do more.
Everyone
Rocky.
loves
Do more
Jason
work.
Momoa, but it's not
What
the
if
most
anything
successful
happened
movie
to
of all
Amber's
time.
participation in
Not of all
Aquaman?
time. It might be. It might be.
So for a moment in time, in
DC.
February
The
2021,
most successful for
there
DC.
were conversations that
However,
I'm
I
gonna
can't believe
be
you beat out Wonder
technical
Woman.
with
Actually,
you.
I can.
Her option for
although I love Wonder
employment was
Woman.
not going to be
How
exercised. So
are
they
you
may
gonna?
not
No,
have
no, no,
hired
no,
her
no, no, no.
again,
Don't
even
even
though
go.
she had a
Stick to
contract
your
for it. There
expertise,
was some
bitch.
question as to whether she was going to be hired again on Aquaman 2.
All right. And did ultimately then she still get hired for Aquaman 2?
She did. Her management team fought very hard, and they ultimately
She said she
ended
fought
up
hard, not her
hiring her.
management
But also
team.
not only because of what her management team did, but Jason Momoa, the star, and James Wan, the director,
Jason Momoa did what?
committed to her in an email saying, "If we are involved with this movie,
Hearsay.
we will
Objection,
bring
no
her."
Hearsay.
foundation, hearsay.
I'll sustain the
Don't
objection.
There
say
you go.
what the email said, just summarize it.
I want to
Don't
hear what
tell
Jason
your
Momoa said as
fucking
much as the next
witness
girl.
what to
That's
say.
hearsay.
You need to
Um,
prep your fucking
so-
You said you
witness.
testified like a
her
million
management team
times.
worked
I'm just
hard,
trying to understand this
and
world. It's always the
Jason
same.
Momoa and the
I need to get a
were
soda
adamant
here.
that she was
Soda here
Objection,
soon.
hearsay.
Oscar,
Worked hard.
Am I
the
losing
rules
it?
of hearsay are
She has to be able to
finite.
say that.
Your Honor, she doesn't have to be able to say that, Elaine.
So
Honor, she has
Oscar,
to
let me know if I'm
say
losing my
no,
mind
Elaine.
if I need a
assurances
soda
not how that
or
works.
Mr. Momoa
if I need a
and
soda
Mr.
or
Wan
if I'm okay and
handle
I can still
No,
survive
she
without
would
it.
Calls
be
for
an
hearsay.
Aquaman too.
Soda
Objection,
keeps me
hearsay.
calm.
Sustain.
Calls for hearsay. Rephrase, Elaine. Rephrase the question.
What if any?
What
are
if
you
any?
aware of
That's
any
her best
chemistry
way of
issues
rephrasing the question. Rottenborn's better at questioning
Amber
Oh, they're
here.
opening the
Jason
door
And I don't
for
like
the
Rottenborn.
WB statement.
According to the fact that they did a chemistry test with Miss.
All right, hold on. Let me take this
Ms.
video
Heard
down. Oscar
and Jason
Montiel is
Momoa,
kinda
in order for her to be
judging it
hired,
for us.
that
Here,
is
let
a
me
good
see.
indication that they thought the two of them had good chemistry. Obviously, when
Let's
you
go to
look at the
YouTube.
Does that
movie, they
continue?
have good chemistry, and the poster, they have good chemistry. So I think it's general awareness that they had great chemistry.
It's general awareness
And
they had
what,
great
if
chemistry.
anything,
I'm out.
Would also suggest, with respect to Aquaman 2, that Jason Momoa believed they had good chemistry.
Calls for hearsay.
He wanted her in the movie.
Okay.
Too slow,
Hearsay.
Dennison.
I think she has to be able to rely
She
on it.
doesn't have to be able to say it though, Elaine. Relying on it and forming an opinion and saying it in court are two totally fucking different things.
In
Yes, it
your
is.
review of all of the record
This
evidence,
is
what,
this
if
is
anything,
crazy
did
how
you
a lawyer on
see in
YouTube,
writing
well, she's
anywhere
licensed,
that there was
but a
ever
lawyer
any
on
chemistry
YouTube
or
knows what the
creative
hell she's talking
issue
about. And
with
Elaine
Amber
She just
Heard
opened
is
the door for
creating
that.
this
Momoa
drama
Aquaman
and
one.
wasting time that Amber Heard
There
doesn't
were no
have.
communications whatsoever
Like, you
that
can't
there
be
was no
wasting
chemistry
time like that.
between the two.
You need to phrase your
And what, if
questions better.
anything, did
You need to prep your
in all the
witness
record
better,
evidence
or
did
if
you
at
see
all.
that the
Oh my
producer
God,
or
Elaine.
Jason Momoa did not want Amber
Oscar
Heard in
Montiel, let me
Aquaman
know
2.
if this is better.
I did not see any evidence of that.
In fact, the opposite, correct?
Correct, again.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now,
Double
what if any
standard,
leverage did
woman, just
Amber
letting
Heard
you know.
have to
For anyone
renegotiate
that
her
I
salary
say this
under the circumstances
on future live streams, I
the
say this
discussions you
for
were
one reason.
talking
It's not
about
because
with
oh
not
she's a woman, she's obviously
exercising
gonna
her
have a double
option?
standard. No,
She,
She
had
has a
zero
double
leverage. She
standard
was
because she
fighting
has a
for her
double
life to stay in
standard.
the film.
for the team.
Now,
For
is
Amber
it
Heard's
typical
team,
for an actor to be
she
able
goes
to
all out with the
negotiate
sustaining
an
objection. It's
increase
like,
in their
ah,
salary
yeah,
after a
let's
successful
sustain them
franchise?
objections.
So you may know
Right?
this
For
already, and so I
Amber's team.
apologize.
But when
if you
Johnny's
fly
team
too
wants to make
close
an
to the
objection,
sun,
it's like
though.
maybe
to your
5-6%
attention,
of them
but
that
in
are
a
sustained.
franchise such
So
as- a potential
I just
franchise
need
as
you to,
Justice League and Aquaman,
unless Elaine is
the
messing up so
customs and
bad,
practice
so
is
bad,
the,
that she's got to
studio will
sustain it.
make a-
But otherwise,
an
yeah, no, she's
agreement
got
with
an
the actor
absolutely
that
double standard,
incorporates
and
potential future
that's why I
projects.
say woman
So if
double standard,
Justice
because then
League
I don't have
does
to
well, they
explain
wanna
it,
know
or I
what
say
they're
double
gonna pay the
standard.
actor
So for those that
for
are going to
the
watch
next
this
one
later,
and the
because
next
there
one
are
and
going to
the
be people
next
that
one. And
there are
in
going to be people
those,
that are going to watch this later, and for those that are
successive
watching
terms
now,
in the
that's what I
contract,
mean. Those that have been watching already,
fees
you
for
already
that
know that,
actor
so I know you're okay. But I
customarily
know
goes up.
I could
It
be
can go up by
called a
10%,
sexist and a
20%,
racist and
100%.
a
It doesn't
Trumper and a right
matter.
winger and a Russian agent
And
and a Nazi and a this
in
and
the
a that.
case
And I,
as,
you know, I just got to correct the
Ms.
record.
Kovacevic stated in her testimony that in a successful franchise, that a movie that's made $1 billion, the actors, agents will go back and try to renegotiate that upcoming price tag. So if it was going to be X, they might want it to be 2X or 3X. And that's very standard in the industry to renegotiate your contracts when there's many films in one single contract that each have their own price points.
Like,
What if
for
any other
pirates?
actors in Aquaman 1 were able to renegotiate their contracts?
Jason Momoa renegotiated his contract very significantly from
Shocked.
Aquaman
I'm
1 to
shocked.
Aquaman 2.
Oh,
Color me
wow.
shocked.
Roughly how much more?
It went up from the, somewhere between 3 and 4 million to 15 million.
I'm shocked.
Oh boy,
Did Amber have a contract?
the lead
for
actor in the film
Aquaman
got
1?
paid more.
Yes.
Also, a more established
How much was she paid
actor
for
than Amber
Aquaman
Heard.
1?
Oh,
Aquaman 1, she was paid $2 million.
And if,
We know that.
and did that same contract provide for if she was in Aquaman 2?
I'm sorry, I apologize. Aquaman 1, I believe she got $1 million. Aquaman 2, she was supposed to get $2 million. I apologize. The numbers.
She was
there
paid
were a lot of
$2
numbers in
million
that one contract. So
already.
Aquaman 1, it was $1 million. Aquaman 2, it was going to be $2 million.
And I don't think that's a huge
Now,
mistake
based
by
on
any
your
means.
experience
at all.
and knowledge in the industry, how much would Amber Heard have been able to negotiate her contract, but for the Depp Waldman statements for Aquaman 2? I'm
But
asking.
for
Right.
is
Well, as you can
interesting.
see from Mr. Memo's contract, that went up exponentially, up to
Wait.
$15 million.
girl,
Ms. Heard, I don't know if she would have gotten $15 million for the movie, but she certainly could have increased it by $1 or $2 million or even doubled it. So if it was
That's
2,
fair.
it could have been 4.
No, but
That's fair.
see,
or
what
even
they
5 or
don't,
6,
what they're not
depending
saying
on
here
the
is that
enthusiasm
if
that
you
had
watch
just
that Umbrella
rolled from
Guy,
Aquaman
Yellow Flash 2,
1
and
to
others,
Aquaman 2 without
they will
any of
tell
this
you, and I
negativity
think
that was
Filmstreak,
created
but
by the
they'll
Waldman-
all
the
tell
Depp
you,
Waldman statements.
that's fair.
War-
What if
she
anything happened
threatened
to Amber's role?
Warner,
So,
She
and
lost
Warner
$15
didn't like
million
it.
is
Then
what
when
I'm
she went to
hearing.
go renegotiate her
It was
contract,
diminished.
she could not get more money. They wouldn't give her more money. So these are,
Now,
you know,
why
So
would
she could have
Amber
made a few
have
million
been
dollars more.
featured
but she couldn't,
more
Emily, because they wouldn't
prominently in
they
Aquaman
wouldn't
2?
negotiate her contract salary
Objection,
more.
no
They
foundation.
told her that was what you're getting. That's what you're
Only
getting.
foundation.
That's it.
What
No ands,
usually
ifs, or buts.
determines, or are you able to speak to whether
That's
Amber
not a foundation.
should have been or would have been more prominently featured in Aquaman 2?
Should she have been?
Well, a couple of things.
I don't
Just-
think so.
I'm trying to get your foundation. Are you able to speak to that?
Yes.
Okay. And please
Based
tell
on
the
what?
basis of that and then your opinion.
So there's 2 things. When 2 actors do well in a romantic relationship and, they get married or they're going to have a baby, you want to follow that through because part
Was
of
Aquaman
what
having a
did
baby?
well in Aquaman
Really?
was not only the action
Spoilers.
sequences, but to have a strong female character having a relationship with a strong male character, it's very empowering, right? So that was working.
She's
for
not
them
a
in the
strong
first place.
female
The
character.
poster
In
of
fact,
Aquaman
Warner has
that went
actually
around the
talked
world
about not
was
recasting
one
her
of the main
because of her
posters
lack of
was
chemistry
of the
with
2 of
Jason
them
Momoa.
together standing proud
So
and
don't
strong,
fucking
right?
go there,
Being that
bitch.
couple.
Don't go
And
there.
So naturally, as you go and develop scripts in the industry, you want to follow on the things that are working. And according to Ms. Heard,
literally
when she
admitted
read
this,
the
ladies and
first
gentlemen. You
script
can
for
go look it up.
Aquaman
It's
2, she
public
had strong
record.
romantic arc
Where they
the
admitted,
entire
yeah,
film.
no,
And
she
then she also
wanted to
got to do
fucking
some
fire her
great
because she
action
had no
sequences.
chemistry
feel
with Jason.
spoiled.
Storyline in
Jason
that
Momoa.
script.
So
Wait, is this
So
come
she
on.
was featured predominantly throughout.
Was that
Strong
an Aquaman
character,
2
my
spoiler?
ass
Right.
cheek.
Did that happen? Is that
I'm
an
a
Aquaman
stronger
2 spoiler?
female
That was a
character, and I'm a
She
dude.
didn't hear anything, so she wasn't getting the scripts.
Oscar's a stronger
Spoiler,
female
spoiler.
character.
For getting the scripts, she heard that through her ears.
Oh,
And
Oscar.
then when she got the script, it was pared down from the first script dramatically.
Oh,
They
gee, I
had her
wonder
in the
why.
Hospital very shortly in the first part of the movie called
Probably
Act
wasn't
One.
good at all.
They had her in the hospital, and they pretty much had her in the hospital, and then she was going to do this action sequence in the end. She trained 5 hours a day for several months with a trainer to do this big action sequence, and then when she got to set, 2 things happened. One, the costume designer said, "I don't know what happened to your role. It got diminished."
That's
And
hearsay.
Objection, hearsay.
It's too
Okay.
slow,
All right.
Dennison.
Go ahead
sorry.
with the second
Okay,
one. That's
and
all right.
more importantly, though, this big action sequence that she was going to do at the end of the movie in the third act was cut out, and they took it away from her. So it was radically.
This is all
reduced
due
from
to
what
her
it was in the
fucking
script and what she
lies.
even
That's
trained
why it was
for,
effing taken
while
away
she was
from
preparing
her.
for the movie.
That's
And
why.
What if any
If you
changes
look
are
at
made
it,
storyline?
there's Warner and Disney are
I
suffering right
haven't
now.
seen the movie yet
Because Warner-
specifically, so
oh,
I
I'm
can't
sorry,
really speak
Warner-
to that yet.
All right, and when you say
They
she was in
fired
the
Johnny
hospital,
Depp. But
do
what
you
they
mean by she
didn't
injured
do was
in the
they
first
didn't
scene?
also
I
fire
believe that
Amber
in
Heard.
the first act
They
of the movie, she
decided
was
to
injured
just
somehow or
presume
had something to do with
her
the baby. I don't know
innocent, him
exactly. I'm just
guilty.
going with what
Now
Mr.
it's coming
told
back
me
to
about
bite
was
them in the
that she ends up
motherfucking
in
ass.
the hospital
And
early
now
Aquaman
people are
2 movie
threatening
doesn't
to
really come out
threatening
till
to
the
not
end,
go to the
kind of
fucking
wrap
box
things up,
office
but all
to
of the
to
interactions
the
with
movie
the
theaters
Damn it,
most
to
spoiled
pay
the
a
plot of
fucking
Aquaman 2.
to pay for
So
their
the
fucking
action scenes
film
were taken out.
and buy
Rotten Board
popcorn and
knows the
nachos. No,
spoilers
that
have
affects everything. And
How
they're
has
also
Amber
threatening.
typically
I'm not
been
going to
his-
rent it on
his
YouTube. I'm not going to
outings
rent it
for
on
films?
Disney
As we talked about
Plus.
earlier,
I'm not going to do anything of
actively
that
involved in the
sort.
press and the promotion,
Um,
whether that was on the press junkets,
So
what we call
they're
them, they toured
they're
the
diminishing
world,
her
and
role
the
based on
actors
her
toured together,
lies and
it was
her
actors from the
false
press at
fucking
various screenings
allegations.
and film festivals. And then
I hope
also
Johnny
she
Depp's
was
team
on
brings
the
that
cover
up,
of
but they're more
magazines,
eloquent
usually
than me,
after
so they
her
probably
movie,
won't bring
especially
up
after
rumors
Justice
or
League.
laws and all that.
And how was the
So-
promotion of Aquaman 2
But,
affected by the
you
Depp
know,
Waldman statement?
That's why her
Ariel.
role was diminished.
Amber
And
has not been
this
involved in
bitch of
any
a
of the
witness
is
promotion
not
that's been done to date, or very
talking
little,
about that because
particularly
double standard, I
in the
guess.
Rottenborn's-
teasers that I've seen. we call,
Born's
short
anticipating the call
little films
from the
about
studio,
making of and so
yelling
forth.
about the
She's not featured in
spoilers
them.
in
And
trial.
also very
just
specifically,
waiting to
there
be
was
yelled
a
at.
big event that Warner Brothers put on during the fandom. I think it's a DC fandom event, which is a big kind of like Comic-Con style event. And they invited
I've
all
never
of the
heard of
actors,
DC
or the
fandom.
majority of the actors that had strong roles in film, to participate both in the posters and the artwork, and also participate at DC fandom.
You
And
might
Ms.
have been
Heard was
swallowing
not
a yawn.
invited to either be in the poster or be at the event. And in fact, they told her she cannot come.
She might have been a safety risk.
Now,
To be fair, with all the
this
hate
hurt
online, it
Amber's
might have been
career,
a
not
risk to
being
her.
allowed to be in any of the promotional materials?
No. Stop being a woman, Emily. Stop saying that.
It means
It's,
that
it is,
nobody
but
knows
you,
about
you
her.
can't
She
tell me
doesn't
that they don't have
part in the
security
film.
on the
It's not
Warner
gonna
lot.
take her
Come on.
on to
Wait,
the
I
next
thought she was a big,
movie.
huge star. What do you mean
She's not
nobody
being
knows about them?
associated with the
Yeah,
tremendous
isn't
amount of
Amber like the
promotion that's
biggest star in the
been
world
made for
according to this
this,
witness? She's
you
a
know,
world-renowned
movie
actor
that
now.
everybody's looking forward
on.
to see. So she's not a
One
part of it
film doesn't
because
make you a
You're
world-renowned
You're saying she's a
actor.
big, huge star. She's had her
How have
Star is
the
Born
Depp
moment
Waldman
to nobody
statements
knows about her
affected
because
any
she's not a
other films
DC
or
fandom.
TV project promotions for Amber?
Wait,
Nobody
DC
knows
fandom
about her,
happens
but
all
hey,
the
she's
time.
a star.
the
She's
defamatory
born
That's not
again.
Comic-Con.
Jesus has
either
come.
around the, after or around the time that
See how
Aquaman
her
1,
witnesses
uh,
are
came out,
inconsistent?
She was in the TV show called The Stand. It was
Everyone.
based on a Stephen
The
King novel.
Stand.
So big book,
There was a
going to be a
resonance in
big
that.
TV show. And again, Ms. Heard didn't do any press or promotion for that for the same reasons.
And what, if any, plans were there to have?
And what if
Amber
any?
Heard
Oh my
on the
God.
cover of LA Style?
I hate that phrase now. I can't
relating to
stand it.
Stand before the Depp
Like I
Waldman
have a
statements.
phobia to what if any? And what
Right,
if any?
so Ms.
What if
Heard
any?
was in, and they had done an
Elaine's
article
a
about
dumbass
her
fucking-
participation
her
in
license
the
needs to
be
TV show, The
revoked.
Stand, the
Someone needs to
Stephen
send
King
her back to
novel,
fucking
related,
law school and show her how
TV
to
show,
ask questions.
And they were going to give her the cover picture and cover story, and they took that away.
Oh,
don't
gee, I
know.
wonder
think
why.
either
Again, this
was
all goes back to her
consistent, but they
lies.
certainly took
Why
away
did they
the
take it
cover.
away? Her
Why did they
lies.
take it
Cover
away?
story.
How have the Depp Waldman statements affected press requests for Amber?
She
There
doesn't-
aren't any.
How does she know that?
So yes, they affected it because there used to be a lot of press requests, and now there aren't any.
Has Amber Heard obtained any roles since
I'd
the
love
Depp
to know
Waldman
how she
statement?
knows that, but also
Again,
they have there's a
for
reason
many
why
years,
she's mentioning
for
Adam
a
Waldman,
good
his lawyer,
period of time,
is
or a year and a
because
half, 2 years,
he
until she
released
got this
audio
small movie
that was
called,
released in the
Into the
UK
Fire.
trial, so it's not like he was releasing
Has Amber
unclassified
obtained any
information
studio movie
or
roles
classified
since the
information.
Depp
He was
Waldman
releasing
statement?
unclassified public
No.
info, and
How, if at all,
he got thrown
have
off the case. I
Amber's
can explain that later.
philanthropic
And so now they're
opportunities
trying
been
to say
affected
that
by
his
Depp
statements are the
Waldman
ones
statements?
that brought Amber Heard
Again,
down,
she
and that
had
he
some
was working
passion
on
projects.
behalf
She
as
was
an
invited
agent
to
for
do some
Johnny
Her
Depp.
philanthropic
and she also
efforts,
had her own
like
passion projects that
pledging
she,
more
you know,
money?
loved and wanted to be
Yeah.
involved
Oh,
in
is she
travel
gonna pledge
for.
more money or is
Or
she gonna
donating?
donate
They
it?
decided
There's
it
a difference.
wasn't going to be a good idea.
But-
because
Like
every time
donating
she
to the
appears
Children's
anywhere,
Hospital.
social
Anyway,
media
I'm sorry about that.
negativity campaigns
but,
start up again.
um,
So she hasn't been able to do any charity work.
What is an endorsement?
like
Hasn't
that.
been able to do any charity work.
Yeah.
So an endorsement is when an actor associates themselves with a product, either for
Oh,
print.
it's going to be
promotion
difficult for
or
them to prove
commercials, you know,
that
like
he was working on behalf of Johnny
Jennifer
Depp
Aniston
and that
doing
he
the
was
water, you
that
know,
that
or,
statement alone was the one that took
Matthew
her down. No,
McConaughey
it was
doing
her
the
fucking
commercial
ass.
product endorsement. He's
This
paid
jury
to say
better,
that the product
you know,
is good
realize that
and be
they're going to
associated
be
Even the
found
smart
out
water
soon.
that's sitting there on
One
the
of
stand
them's
with
going to
you?
go to the
Oh,
media.
that
I
was
guarantee you.
well
At
played.
least
Look at
one or
that.
two.
Hashtag not sponsored.
So
very-
they better be
very
careful how
smart
they
water
how
brand.
they
I'm not
vote
bringing
in
that
this
up.
verdict here
bring a good
because
amount of
their
income
lives
to
could be at
them
risk.
when they're not shooting
I'm
movies,
just
which is
saying.
a good way to make money in between film roles. And then also it shows the studios and the production executives and the financiers that the actor is relevant in the community because they're being associated with the product. So if it's a well-known product, that's really great. If it's a medium product, that's great, and so forth and so on. So you want to be, if you can, and if that's something that you like to do, not everybody does, but if they like to do that, then they can get a lot of value out of those product endorsements.
The
because then
microphone,
studios
please.
See that there's a connection with the consumer, not just on the film, but also with product.
Did Amber have any endorsement activities prior to the publication of the Depp Waldman statements?
L'Oreal.
Yes.
Please explain.
So Amber was
Good
hired
question.
by L'Oreal to be a product and endorse their product.
Was she fired?
She also had
And she
endorsements.
had a
Elaine, you
$1.5 million
bitch.
contract for 2 years.
Fucking cunt. She also
and
had
we were
endorsements
able
before she
to,
published. She
they
published
had
an
20
op-ed.
days of her work. You know, they had the right
She
to work
published
with her
an
for 20
op-ed. I
days.
like how
And
she
she started to
sped
work,
through the
and then
damages of
when the
Johnny Depp.
defamatory statements came out,
She said,
they
"Oh, but Adam
essentially put a
Waldman
pause
caused
on
Amber
working with
Heard."
So they no longer
She used
brought
a
her to
bunch
photo
of
shoots, they no longer
rumors,
had
rumors
do public
to say Johnny
defense
Depp had
for the
damages, but
product,
never went
and
through the real
basically
deal.
said,
This is
"We
where
love you,
Johnny Depp's
but we
team.
can't work with you right now
Wayne
because
Dennison
too
looks
much
like he's
Objection.
gonna have
Hearsay.
to. I
Hearsay.
don't like Wayne Dennison. I wish they
Stated
would put
objection.
Ben Shu up here.
Um,
One of them's gonna have to come up here and say,
have the Depp.
All
"All right,
they
but
haven't
look at her
talked about
op-ed. What, let's talk about the
I don't know why they haven't
damages
talked
there,
about it.
because
Lord.
that's a
Well,
beauty
they
right
put it
there."
on pause and haven't done any of the work, so she's not out there in the public eye.
This
related
other
to the
attorney
product.
next to her
And
is
they,
Needlehoft.
Have
My cat can
decided
Google
to
Needlehoft.
continue working with her at some point once, as I said, this all quiets down, this trial is over, and hopefully the negative campaigns will stop. So they extended her contract, but they did not pay her for that extension.
Not if she comes
And has
out
Amber
guilty.
been hired for any
You
other
think that's gonna stop? You
endorsement
think
deals
people are gonna
since
want to
the
work
Depp
with her?
Waldman
Hell, fucking
No.
no.
Now, did you assess Amber's losses as a
That's
result
not
of the
happening,
Depp
man.
Waldman
Yes,
statements?
please explain to us how we get
Yes.
to $100
What
million.
did you do to
We're all
assess those?
dying to know.
Well, first of all, I looked
Yes,
at Amber's
please,
career
tell us.
directly, so I wanted to see, you know, as I said earlier, she worked consistently, and then she was on this kind of very large upswing with the big movies, Justice League and Aquaman.
That
and-
Johnny
and all
Depp
of that,
helped
and
her
the
get.
Stand.
We
with
can't-
the
That's a fair
Stephen King
upswing.
We can't ignore
project.
that.
And then
just
it
can't.
stopped, right? So
Like off a
her
cliff,
work
like
stopped. And then I looked at other actors that kind of grew up at the same time frame. Grew up meaning they started their career and had the same time frame to start going from the smaller projects to the well-known director projects to the big movie projects.
I want to see who she
And
says
I
she
looked
grew
at
up
those
with.
actors, and I then saw after they had their Stars Born moment, if you will, I wanted to see where their careers went. So I looked at several actors to see, including Jason
Who?
Momoa, her co-star,
We've
to
likened
see what happened in their
Jason
careers
Momoa. Okay.
after such a successful film as Aquaman came out.
So they're basing
Why
some of
did
this
you
on
use
Jason
that method
Momoa.
of analysis?
So
It's
Jason
a very
Momoa is the
common
only
methodology
actor
in the entertainment industry to work with what we call
that had
comps.
a
I think
Stars
Ms.
Born
Kovacevic
moment.
even used that word
So
comp.
Winona Ryder.
Like buying a
So
house?
you know,
Like
with
Robert
film,
Downey
you try to
Jr.
find
You don't pay for the whole
films
thing.
with actors, you
Who
look to
else
see
can I
comparable
think of?
actors. So you
Like
could
Haley
kind of,
Steinfeld, like
it's
all
not
of
a
them.
distinct actual,
They-
this is going to
They're
happen.
they're
But
not.
this
You
is
know
the
what I mean?
probability with a reasonable certainty
They're-
that with the
they're
right
not
management
actors?
team that she had and
And
her
actresses?
acting ability and her looks and the press that she was getting and should have continued to get, that her career would have been similar.
It's
to
fair
these
to
other
say her
actors.
career was on an
Have
upstream.
you used that
swing.
method in other cases in which you've been an expert
But-
on damages?
Yes, I have.
Who did you select as comparable actors for your comparison?
I want to know this too.
There you go.
Well, I wanted to look at actors that were in superhero films that had done really well at the box office. So I looked at Jason Momoa, her co-star.
Right.
I looked at Gal Gadot, who was is in Wonder Woman.
We know who she
I
is.
looked at Ana de Armas, who was in.
She can't remember.
Blade Runner?
Thank you, Blade Runner. I looked at Zendaya, who was in Spider-Man, and I looked at Chris Pine, who was in Star Trek and also Wonder Woman. About the, similar age range,
Chris
all
Pine?
attractive actors, all
Chris
with
Pine's
good
way
acting skills,
older.
all able
Jason
to do
Momoa.
stunts. So it's not, there are
way
not that
older.
many actors to look at who do superhero characters. So it was a small pool to work from, but I took a wide range from those actors, both men and women, to see what could potentially happen to Ms. Heard's career.
Do you consider all of them to be identical for purposes of measurement?
Well, absolutely not. I mean, no two actors are identical. You can only look at that within a range of characteristics.
Yes, because
and,
Gal Gadot was the
work
lead named
history,
character.
management team, and so forth.
Zendaya had a much
And
larger role
we've
in
heard from
Spider-Man.
Mr. Banya.
As
Yeah,
Peter
she's
Parker's
been in-
Did you review
girlfriend.
Mr. Banya's
Numerous other
Q-score
movies that are very
analysis regarding the
popular.
comparables you used?
Yes, I
And
did.
Zendaya is amazing.
What, if any, opinions have you formed in reviewing Mr.
She's also been in
Banya's
popular
analysis
TV. She
regarding the
seems to have a lot more
comparables you
work.
selected?
So Mr. Banya looked at
Yeah, Zendaya
calendar
was in
years
Shake It
to
Up.
assess
Zendaya was
what
in
happened
Casey
in
on the
December
Cover, which
of,
is not a good show.
2017.
I
or
think
18
these
or
actors
19,
are more
what happened in
established,
June,
too.
What happened in a very
Stars.
specific time frame,
Zendaya
Y'all
had
which
a
works on
great
some
career.
statistical analysis. but
Chat, I
when
agree with
you're
you.
talking
That's
about
just-
actors
those are
and their
her
relationship
assumptions.
To Q scores are related to the actor's viability in the consumer's
I'm really curious
mind,
to know how the
if you will,
jury is.
how well known or how much
She's
they're
picking
coming up in
lead
conversation.
roles.
Thinking of
Except
this.
And
like
so
Chris
Mr.
Pine.
Banya did not look at time periods of the actors that I compared them with to the film when it came out. So like right after
All
the
of those
success
who were
of their big
co-stars
film,
had
what was the
larger
Q-score?
parts than she
But
had as Mira,
moreover,
I
he
think.
just
Exactly.
look at them in a year range. So it doesn't coincide from actor to actor just because you look at it over time. You have to look at it specifically after each of those individuals' box office success with a particular film. You look at the Q score, high or low during that, and then you look at how low it drops.
No, I
say, a
agree that
couple
Chris
months
Pine was the lead
afterwards,
in
and then
Star
if it
Trek.
comes
I think
back
they're
up, if
trying
they
to
have another
compare in the
film
DC
or another
universe.
event that brings them into
The
the
problem
limelight
with this
again.
is they're trying
So
to compare
it's
them,
not
like
about
she
time.
said.
It's
But the
related
problem
to a
is
specific
they're all
activity
bigger
or
stars
event.
than
I'm sure
Amber
Zendaya
Heard.
is not thrilled that her
They've
name
all
has
had
come up
What
in
did
this.
your
TV shows
comparison
and
show
movies and
in
productions
terms
that
of
they've
films
all
We
been
can
a
just
part
talk
of
about
longer
it
than
for
Amber
days
Heard.
in the chat. You guys can keep giving your Zendaya love in the chat. I'm here for it.
So,
Exactly,
and
like
yes,
the
Zendaya is
comparables.
Very
perfect
good
and
use of our
amazing.
attention.
We all
In
gotta say
terms
that.
of
I love
their-
Zendaya.
I'm not quite sure I understand.
Well,
Neither do we,
what,
but I wasn't talking.
what happened with these other actors after they had their
Oh,
Stars Born
unrelated to
moment?
Q scores. Right,
Right.
Okay, sorry. So all those actors' careers,
know it's
the
a bad
ones I
question.
mentioned, they all either were a steady rise or even a meteoric rise in terms of where their career went after their Star is Born moment. Then they got some other good films, and maybe they got another film that performed
Game of
extremely
Thrones.
well. So it was a range,
Yep,
but
Game
they
of
all were
Thrones.
on an upward trajectory without a doubt.
And what does this mean for Amber?
What do you mean?
With a reason, I mean,
I don't
the
know what
way
that
that
means.
the kind
just
of
means she's
industry
not
works
as
is
big of a
usually,
star.
unless there is
Seriously?
a force majeure or some really negative event, her career should
Audio?
have followed that same upward swing in
Audio.
about the same time frame, give or take 6 months to a year.
This was probably done
But
before.
it would be very
June.
reasonable to believe that her career would have been on an upward trajectory within the range of those other actors.
What if any comparisons did you make?
What if any
respecting
comparisons?
endorsement deals of these actors with Amber?
I just gotta point it out because it's such a
You know,
stupid
again,
ass
all
fucking
those
question.
actors that we've talked about.
Even
all
Rottenborn's a
did
better questioner
multiple
than
endorsement deals
Elaine,
after their
and Rottenborn's a
big
piece
movies,
of
so after their
shit.
big series of
It's
movies.
trash.
Jason Momoa is on, Rocket Mortgage and Harley Davidson, as well as, 5 or 6 other companies. Zendaya is Lancome and fashion
Zendaya.
and water and jewelry, and Gal Gadot and Chris Pine and Anna de Armas. They've all done either a couple or many, and all of them have associated
Okay,
with a
stop
large
comparing her to
brand.
Zendaya.
Unlike Amber, who hasn't done.
Zendaya is
even
10
been able
times
to
the
work
actress
on the
that
one
Amber Heard would
project
ever
that she
be.
had. She's
Let's say Amber
certainly
Heard's
getting
career
others.
would have risen.
So what did your analysis show?
Zendaya's
with
career
respect
is
to
even
Amber
higher
Heard's
and bigger
losses,
because
but for
she's
the
been
Depp
around
Waldman
longer.
statements?
We've known around her
They were
about
significant.
her longer. She might be
If you
younger.
follow the trajectory
about,
of
but
her,
she's-
Her
she's
Hollywood's
still
wasting a
Well,
lot
let's
of
start
time
with
re-asking this.
Aquaman 2.
Way more famous. And yes,
What
I
would she
mean,
have realized
perfect. She's
there?
wasting a
have,
lot
not
of
would
their
have,
time.
could
as I
have.
stated earlier.
Could
So
have.
They
from
could have asked
Aquaman
better
1 to
questions
2,
here.
Chat, I
it went from
agree.
$1 million to $2
I
million.
agree. The
Right?
Zendaya
So that was a
comparisons are
pre-written
rough for
contract.
me.
It doubled. So the agents were very excited after the success of Aquaman to go and negotiate a much higher fee like they did for Jason Momoa. They weren't able to do that. So in that instance
she's
alone,
not a
it was
born
more
star.
than likely a $2 million loss just from that movie alone.
So 2 to 4.
She
you'd
tried to
say-
take
It could have been
Aquaman
more,
to
could have
court
been
and tried to
leading.
threaten them with sanctions and
Guys,
all
look
that
what
shit.
Dr.
And they
Pete-
were like,
What about
fuck
Dr.
you.
P's getting us through the rest of trial.
So once as Amber's agent, Ms.
Wait, there better not be.
Kovacevic,
Kovacevic.
I was doing okay. Ms. Kovacevic said that once you get that quote of the $2 million
even
from
prep your
Aquaman
witness.
2, that kind of was
Her
like the
agent is
baseline
Kovacevic.
for any other
This
movie
is
she would
this,
have done.
this is
So
that,
any other
actress was
studio
in this,
movie would have
actress was
started
in
from
this.
there, and depending on the success of
Fuck,
Aquaman
man,
and
this
how
is
much
stupid.
press she did, maybe she worked on another great director, independent film, whatever, that $2 million for a studio film and had it jumped to $4 million with the renegotiation, that then would have been the basis. So any future studio film that she would have done, any big budget film would have been the basis at $4 million, and then most likely have gone up from there if she was able to get others, which she should have, just like the other actors.
Let's talk about TV for a minute. What would those losses?
I don't know if this is her last witness. It might be.
Well, on The Stand, which was, about the same time as Aquaman, but got the press and the promotion got cut off because of the defamatory statements and the negative campaign. She got paid $200,000
That
an
she
episode
started.
on The Stand. So on a TV series of 9 episodes, it's $1.8 million. So if she had, again, done other TV shows, it's very likely that whether she worked with a streamer or with one of the networks, that fee would have gone up from there. Her agents would have been able to use the leverage of the success of Aquaman 2 to put her, if she had done another television show, given rise to even a higher episodic fee.
likely.
some actors go
Likely?
up to
So
$1
you're
million
assuming
an
here.
episode. Jason Momoa is in his TV show got $1 million. So there's an exponential range of where she could have gone.
There's a new
What about
statement about them
endorsements?
not calling Depp. I'll talk about it at the break.
Same thing, all the other
not
actors
calling Depp. Maybe they
were
listened to all
doing
the publicity
over the course of a couple
and they
years
realized it
period,
was a way too big of a mistake. I would love for them to bring on Depp.
5, 6,
Come on,
7
let's go, let's
other
go, let's go.
endorsement deals, and Ms. Heard realistically should have gotten endorsement deals in other categories.
have.
L'Oreal is makeup, so probably not in makeup, but maybe water.
In
or
her
clothing or
mind, Amber
jewelry
Heard
or
should have
wellness,
gotten it.
or it could have been
Should
anything else,
have.
she
So
too
it's like
should have
I
hard to
feel
calculate.
not
a
a.
reasonable degree of certainty,
lost
gotten other
opportunities.
Not a,
contracts
this is
deals
real.
based on the success of the films that she's been associated.
I know we're talking
with
about
and
lost
TV shows.
opportunities, but
And
guess
what
what?
would
This
that
is
have
Amber Heard's
translated
doing.
into in terms of dollars?
So in terms of dollars,
I
okay,
hope,
so it was
Depp's team catches her
$1.5
ass on
million
this.
for L'Oreal for a 2-year contract, and let's give her 4 other $1.5 or $2 million deals, which all those other actors, especially the
My
ladies,
math
have
isn't
gotten.
mathing to get to
Then you're
100.
looking at an additional $8 million of income over time. I'm not saying this is in one period. We're looking at as
Over what
far
period of
back
time?
as the defamatory statements of 2020 to now, which is almost 2 years. And again, as I said earlier, even when this is quiet, it will take 3 to 5 years for her to rehabilitate her career if she can. So we have to look at it as a period of a minimum of 5 years. So when I say $8 million for endorsement contracts, it would have been over time.
What if any losses relating to production or film activities?
Well, again, these
So
other
3 to 5
actors
years
that
to
we
rehab
looked
her
at,
career if she
and there's a
can.
wide range of them. Some of them did bigger films and some of them did gigantic films, but it is very reasonable to assume that once you are in an Aquaman style film, you'll either continue to do those, right? Some of these franchises, as we know, go 4, 5, 6 films, or she would probably have been in another studio film that had nothing to do with Aquaman. But again, so over the course of 5 years, it's very reasonable to consider that she would have been in at least one film a year at a minimum of $4 million, because that's what her precedent would have been had she renegotiated. And it's important to note that in her Justice League contract, if there is a Aquaman,
That's not a
3,
Momoa
her price is set
15
at
mil.
$4 million. So it's very reasonable to assume
was set.
and to believe that if she did a film a year for 5 years at a minimum of $4 million a year without any negotiation, which probably would have happened, but let's just say that baseline, that would be another $20 million over that time frame.
What, if any, opinions do you have about Amber Heard's earning power over time?
That it would continue
So
to
on
rise.
StreamYard,
It's
I
customary in the
changed
industry, as I've talked about earlier, that the
in
negotiations,
the whole
especially with her
Johnny Depp
agents at
testifies
William
again.
Morris,
Instead of a comment, there's a
her
question
fees
mark.
would have
I'm
gone
not
higher.
seeing it
So
appear
I'm
on
just using the
YouTube. So
baseline without any
just because
ability
I
to
like
foresee in the future.
just because
but I
a
already
change
know
is
she got
coming, I guess they're
negotiated
not
for
going to
$4
call
million
him.
from Aquaman
'Cause
3.
I
So
think
if we
they're-
use that as a
they're,
baseline
noticing the bad press.
minimum,
So
but it very well would have gone up had her agents done the work that they wanted to do.
just
So
realized I
combining
just did that.
all
If it
of
ever
these
occurs.
opinions and
And by
calculations
the way, there's
that
3
you've
people
had,
watching.
what, if any, range are the losses
Thank you to those who are watching.
are
Make sure you like, comment,
estimating
share,
for
and
Amber
subscribe to the
Heard, but
channel
for
if
the
you're
Depp
not
Waldman
already.
statements?
And
Right, so
write
again,
in the
it's really
chat. Let me know what you're
important
thinking.
that I looked at, and
I'd love to know
hopefully
what
you
you're
understand
thinking.
this, that it's
Please write
over
in the
time,
chat. I'd love
right?
to
So
know.
let's just say a minimum of 5 years.
overtime.
that
She
we're
keeps
gonna
saying it's
talk about
overtime,
these
it's
losses,
overtime,
and
it's
it could be
overtime.
More, but at minimum, if you look at the film, the television, and the endorsement contracts, it's very likely that Ms. Heard should have earned between $45 and $50 million over that time period.
It's very likely. So she doesn't even
Are all
know
your
that.
opinions to within a reasonable
There's no
degree of
contracts that have been
probability or
negotiated
certainty?
that would have said,
Yes.
hey, should have been
Thank you very
$40
much.
million.
All right, let's
Every
go ahead and
actor is
take our
going to be
afternoon
different.
Recess, ladies and gentlemen. Do not do any outside research and do not discuss this case.
Did
with
she give a
anybody.
range of losses? Did I space out?
Yeah, sit
What did
down.
she give
Yeah,
a
you can
range
take
of
a sit down.
losses?
That's fine.
Chat, I missed it.
No,
What was
no,
her
that's
range
okay.
of losses? I
Sorry.
thought there was a
I
new
appreciate it.
question.
I don't think there
Give
was
me
a,
the number she gave.
I
Range
think
of
she
losses.
said
'cause
40 to 50
I-
million.
My report is still in session, please.
She's talking to the gallery. The jury's walking out, and she's reminding the gallery that court's still in session. Because I think I don't remember the range. No, 40 to 50 million.
All right. So
Oh,
let's come
45 to
back at
50
4
million.
o'clock.
Thank you, chat.
All right.
Thank you.
4
Aaron.
o'clock.
So they're taking the afternoon break, and while they take the afternoon break, we're going to do a quick check-in, and then we will. Oh, the judge isn't. I mean, nobody's moving yet, and Amber Heard's walking out. I wonder if the judge just walked out because she was walking out quick. So 45 to 50 million is definitely not 100 million. They're going to have to ask on cross about the audio. We're going to just peek in with where we're at subwise and answer your questions because we've got a little bit of a break. So I think they gave an Aquaman spoiler, but we're going to go to the Twitters real quick because there is a new tweet from Chanley Painter from Court TV. And let's go see what that says because we've got information about this. So let's just. All right, let's go to the Twitters.
Someone
Twitters,
has texted me and
Chanley
asked
Painter
why I'm just having this.
is in court
woman
for Court
talk,
TV.
and it's because she's smarter than
What do
me,
you think
and
Amber
she's a
Heard's
lawyer.
team had a sudden change of heart recalling Johnny Depp? No, Johnny. Amber Heard's team apparently changed their mind. It will not be calling Johnny Depp back to the witness stand. Heard's team is running out of time to present their evidence. At the beginning of the week, they only had 8 hours to use in their case. We know that. Statement issued to the media. Calling Depp back to the stand would be as relevant to us as a bicycle to a fish. Girl. This is not directed
Wow.
at Chanley Painter. This is directed at whoever released this statement. We're going to come back in a minute. They released a statement to the press. Heard's team released a statement to the press that they were calling Depp back to this
Little
fish.
What the
Objection
fuck?
relevance.
They made the statement.
Everything Depp has testified up. Everything. This sentence is hard for me. Everything Depp has testified to up to this point has been irrelevant to the heart of this case, and there's no reason to believe it would be any different now. This
that's-
statement is from a source close to Amber Heard this afternoon after her team changed their mind in calling Depp to the stand.
If he was so relevant, why were you trying to call him to the stand?
That's an interesting choice.
It's a bit
That's
odd.
an interesting choice. That was an interesting choice. That's an interesting statement. As relevant to us as a bicycle to a fish. What's the bicycle fish reference? I feel like I'm getting
because
Drew
I'm
Barrymore.
sitting here going, what the fuck?
But is that a fish may love a bird, signore? But where would they live? Is that the reference that my brain has gone to? All right, let us go to the chat.
That whole thing pisses me off because I'm like,
is
dude,
it a
you guys
spoiler
made
if
the
something
statement.
already-
You guys are the ones who said it.
Let's see.
This
If
is all you,
something is
man.
already established
This
in
is
the
literally
comics.
all you.
Is the whole film series not based on the comics? It is. I just don't know the DC comics. I'm legitimately curious.
And
how the
literally,
difference
it's
plays
like,
out. I don't know. I guess
oh,
it's
it's
not.
not,
If
it's
if
so
it's in the
irrelevant.
comics,
It's
I don't
so
know. So
irrelevant.
you guys, thank you so much for
This is
it
just
an
them
Aquaman reference?
backpedaling and trying to
Dr.
gaslight
Seuss
everybody.
reference?
Because even I reported last night, yeah, they might bring Johnny
Bicycles, I
Depp
don't
back,
know.
which would be
Didn't
stupid.
the judge instruct
I think they realized how
statements?
stupid
Yes, they
and desperate
did.
it would be
The
and
bicycles, the
dangerous
Dr.
for
Seuss
them.
reference.
And I think that they
Fantastic.
realized
All
we
right,
only have 8
let
hours.
us get to some of the questions, y'all. Thank
So,
you. We're now on the push to like
we
490,000, I guess. That's where we're at.
gotta
So thank you all for the
not have him talk because he'll
150,000
take
of you
8
in here.
hours. So
Question: fatigue. Perhaps Depp was jaded. Very common for a 40-year-old career. 40-plus career to have its ups and downs. A person's life has trials and tribulations. Ridiculous to expect someone's career may stay 100% for more than 4 years. That had to do with the damages. And again, this damages expert, this is their job to talk about damages for both. I want to see Emily and Elaine in a room for 15 minutes. Maybe you'll be able to teach her how to ask better questions. No, but I do have some questions for her. Has Aquaman pledged a salary to Amber? No idea. It seems that that's what they were talking about, that there was a $4 million salary.
no, there was a $2 million
Question,
salary.
why didn't
Look
she
at that
compare
umbrella
her
guy.
Daisy
He
Ridley
made
or
that.
Adam Driver? They're now
Chat,
earning,
if you guys have any questions for me,
20
Oscar,
million
or
USD.
whoever
I
else
don't
is
know.
watching, go ahead
I
and
don't know
ask
why
them, and I
how
will
she
go
picked
ahead
who
and
she
take
picked.
a
I
look
don't
at
think
them,
she
and then
wanted
I'll
to get
answer
into
it
the
here
Star
on there.
Wars
We
universe.
are
I
on
think
a
she was trying to
break,
stay
so if this is
to
all
people
that
who
she's
had
going
a
to be doing,
tangential
I'm
relation or
going
a
to
direct relation to the DC universe. I think it's fair not to branch
I
out to
wonder
the Star
how
Wars
long the
universe,
break
different
is. That's what
universes.
I'm trying to
And it
figure
would
out
be
because
easier
I
to
could
discount. Well, that's a different
absolutely
universe.
do
Star Wars
cool
is a
little
DC, right? 'Cause it's
James
not.
Franco video.
I mean,
James
DC
Franco
isn't
video, the
Star
whole
Wars.
cheating
I'm
scandal
still
there.
shocked that no one has mentioned the fact that Heard
could talk
played
about
Spencer
Doggygate.
Reed's love interest in
I could do those two things. At
2006
least
episodes of Criminal
those two
Minds. That's
things.
legit the only place I know her from. And those comments are the thing.
So I
that
wanna know how
hurts
long.
listening to this testimony, because a lot of you were like, I didn't know who she was before this. Why is there webcam behind Amber's team? It looks like it could see their screen or even the jury. It might be court security, but I saw that. I don't know if there's one on the other side. We can ask those that are in court that question. I don't know if they know. It might be a good question for Rob from Law and Lumber. He practices in these courts to know if that's something that's regularly in there or if that's something that's just in here for this. Question, isn't all of this conjecture? Yes. Wasn't it testified to that she got 1 million for Aquaman 1 and 2 million for Aquaman 2? Isn't her conjecture off? No, she based it on, expert opinion. Hey, this is the trajectory I'm seeing. And so we get to this trajectory I'm seeing. No, if Amber Heard loses, she will pay whatever the jury says she will pay, and the jury could issue none if they wanted to. Question, why hasn't Vanessa Paradis testified on Johnny Depp's behalf? I don't know. They might not have called Vanessa to do that. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Thank you. Appreciate it. That is a good catch. I was trying to place it. That's a fantastic catch. Calling Depp back to the stand would take up too much of our poorly budgeted time. Feels more accurate. Yeah, but I don't know how they're going to establish agency. So I don't know why Paradis wasn't called, but she wasn't. Question, but wasn't she pregnant and COVID? I don't think she was pregnant. I think she had a child via surrogate. I don't think she was pregnant, and surrogacy is a way to go. I don't think she was pregnant. And COVID would have halted a lot of this. Nobody's asked about the impact of COVID. How do you think Team Heard is looking after this witness? I think this witness is very good as to damages. I think in defamation per se, you don't have to prove damages. I still don't think we're getting 200 million, but I think she said, look, Amber Heard's career was going like this. This was the most listenable, and I think one of the seeming more credible witnesses that Heard is called. And I think she said, look, her career was going in an upward trajectory. It's fair. You land a blockbuster, big budget movie that your career should go in an upward trajectory. And after this, it goes down. How this expert pins it to, and this is a problem for both parties. How do you pin it to the defamatory statements and not also pin it to the leaked audio and other things? That is a problem for both sides that both sides have to deal with in this case. So thank you. I was trying to remember
I think
the fish bicycle, and that's
it's
not
her problem.
what came up.
It's
so thank
her
you for the
fault.
Gloria
It's
Steinem,
her fucking doing. She pretty much caused this
if
for
Depp
herself.
has no losses because he has no contract
her
yet,
career
why
was
is
going
she
up.
losing,
She didn't have to
why is
abuse
she
Johnny
losing 50
Depp.
million when she has
And
no
Johnny
contracts
Depp,
either?
we
It's all
probably wouldn't be
speculative,
sitting here
and the jury
today
gets
if
to
she had just
decide
done what
who
he
lost
said. Look,
what.
let's just write a letter, say the media's
How
fucked
is
up.
Amber Heard's career path
Everything's
comparable to
fine,
Gal
but no,
Gadot?
she
I don't
wanted
know.
more money out of Johnny
Gadot
Depp.
was a
She wanted to
badass in
take a
Fast and
man
Furious,
out of
and
his
she can act.
limelight.
Yeah, and she's
That's
fucking
what
Wonder
she's
Woman.
all about. She's a fucking living
Assuming,
narcissist. So
what if
an
what
egotistical
this
little
expert
bitch.
says is
So,
true
I
regarding
mean,
the statements directly losing her money,
she
doesn't
could
it
have
only
left this
matter if the
alone.
statements are
She could have
false?
left this alone,
Well,
and she
yes,
never
in
did.
defamation,
And
you have
this
to
is the
prove
problem
damages,
that it
but
caused for her.
falsity is a huge part of
So
it.
yeah,
We
her
went through the
career went
elements of
down by her
defamation
own doing.
in last week's podcast, and that's up audio and video on the channel. So episode
Oh yeah, and also
143,
trying
I
to
go
threaten a
over,
big movie studio.
The
Like they don't have
instruction for defamation,
hundreds of
and then I
millions
go
of dollars
over
in lawyers
some
that
of
they're
the
going to throw
evaluating
at you,
credibility
bitch.
of a witness.
Come
So
on.
we'll go over it again.
They're
But yes,
way richer than you
damages
and
don't matter
smarter.
unless you have defamation, and even then, defamation per se, meaning it's assumed to be reputationally damaging, but you don't have to prove damages, can come up. So the jury could find defamation, find its defamation per se, and say none of you have been damaged. Y'all, there's too much to determine damages, because again, it's the same with Depp. Is it the op-ed? Is it other articles? Is it the TRO being filed? Is it the UK case? Is it the UK? What is it? And pinning damages can be hard. Have you seen
What
an
she's not
interview with
telling you,
Bruckheimer
'cause
where
she's a
he
woman,
said there are
is
two
that,
scripts that are out there
He
for
has a better
Pirate
case.
6,
Yeah,
one with Depp
absolutely.
and
It is
one-
mind-blowingly
maybe one
difficult for
not
Johnny Depp to
seems
prove this.
as if they're waiting
However,
for something. I have not seen that.
I can see
but
it, and
again,
Emily can see it too, but
I'm
I
sure I
think
will
she's
go
paid
look for
to not
more
tell you.
stuff. I will be looking
And
for
I
more
love
stuff
Emily,
around
but I'm
all
just
of this
saying
once this
here.
trial's over.
He's
Eddie
on a better
Acosta said,
trajectory
"Hey, I
and
just found your channel. You're
trajectory.
awesome.
And
Thank you."
that's a weird word in
Would
terms
you
of
consider
proving it.
doing a mock closing statement the last day of trial? I think I've given one. I think I've given a couple. But on the last day of trial, it might be hard if we have time. But I keep giving them in the middle of arguing about stuff. If it's proven the Waldman accusations are true, it's no longer defamation. A defamatory statement must be false, which is why I don't think both of them can win. Because if you're calling Heard essentially a fraud, a hoaxer, and a liar, and you're finding that she defamed Johnny Depp, then that's not defaming her, right? Because you're finding that those things are true. If they don't find it's true, I think they both can lose, but I don't think they both can win. Is it
I
common to
don't. I
consider a
don't think
witness
they
an
both
expert
can lose or win.
when it seemed
Well,
to not
actually,
have
I
worked
think
in
they
the
both can
industry
lose
for
if
a
the jury's
while?
stupid.
The
If the
background
jury
can be
can't
true.
read
I
the
mean,
social media posts that were entered
she
in
had
the,
a very long
know,
resume
right?
and a lot of years
However,
of expertise
I
in it,
do
and then is doing this
think-
work as an
I do
expert. So
think
yes, it's totally
that
fine. When will Jennifer Howell's deposition be played? After we get into Depp's case in
I
chief,
do
we have to
think
get out of
that
Heard's case, and we're not out of Heard's case yet. And we are running
Johnny
out of
can
daylight
win.
today. It is
Amber maybe
it
has
is
a
almost
steeper
4
chance of
o'clock
winning.
in the east,
less
so
chance.
we are running out of
But
daylight.
she's right. They both cannot win.
today.
It reminds me of Voldemort.
So, no, I don't know. Amber Heard didn't deny what she did to Johnny Depp in Australia
one
in
must
his
live.
recording. Can
Only
that
one can live.
impact her? I would have to look at which recording it was that was played to the jury, but yes, everything can impact you, especially if there's an artful cross-examination. Do you think cross-exam will touch on the fact that none of the actors mentioned willingly became polarizing figures in the face of domestic abuse? I mean, it's possible to ask, did her own op-ed put a target on her? And again, the op-ed
Exactly.
says that she faced the wrath, that she reported DV and faced the wrath. And the chat brought this up earlier, and I saw it in a super chat earlier. So if she's saying she faced our culture's wrath for speaking up against DV, that goes back to her TRO, presumably. And the TRO was in, hold on, I have a note. The TRO was
2016.
filed in what, 2016? So if the TRO is filed in 2016, and then she's talking about facing our culture's wrath in her op-ed in 2018, and Hollywood is protecting a powerful man, wasn't the downward trajectory there? But then they're going to argue, no, Aquaman happened. Aquaman happened between the TRO and the op-ed, so it's not the op-ed. That's, I think, the argument there.
Yeah,
I had no idea who
exactly.
Amber Heard was, other than her relationship to JD. And I'm in the entertainment industry and a film addict. She didn't star in Aquaman, and she's always been a co-star. 20 mil would seem a massive stretch. The jury might think so too. They keep stretching with Aquaman being the most successful movie of all time ever. Like, why the hyperbole, y'all? Why the hyperbole? I'm going to see if there's anything that
It's
Chandler
not the most
Keener has
successful
had to
movie.
say. New. Let's see. Nothing new. Let's see if James from court has tweeted. I'm going to go look and see if there's any tweets about how the jury's responding to things. Jurors are not liking this testimony. At least 3 to 4 of them are expressing negative facial expressions. That was 2 hours ago. So that was during the Dr. Dislikable, I think, is where we're at. I heard audio from court. Let's see. I heard audio. Let's read. Well, I heard audio and now it's gone. Let's see what happens. All right. That's where we're at on that. Let's see if there are any other statements from the Twitters. Remember Sam Worthington? Not Worthington Ford? No. He was the main character in Avatar, had the highest grossing movie up until Infinity War. Now, where is he? There is a precedent for people falling out. That happens too. Is that the name of the lead actor in Avatar? I didn't know that. Isn't Avatar 2 coming out? Clarification, please. All statements Heard loses, same scale should apply to Johnny. We're pricing things that have not occurred. Yeah, the same stuff will apply. So it's again, this testimony is a double-edged sword for everybody. Because again, how do you track lost opportunity? And that's what these experts are trying to do. How do you calculate the opportunities you don't get because of this? So that's what it is. What happens if the jurors fall asleep? Generally, another juror will tap them. Sometimes the bailiff will go up and just be like, hey there, court's still happening, but it does happen. Surely the box office success on a film doesn't reflect the individual actor's success for the role. I think it's a way to gauge the level of film. Saying an Aquaman movie is a different level than like an independent film, I think is fair to say that it implicates their rise to stardom differently. Hope you see this. It's not a spoiler because comics. How many times has Marvel deviated from the comics? The movies are based on the comics, not a spoiler. Okay, that's fair. So there we go. Love from PA. Thank you. You're welcome. Why is it that we can't assume JD loses Pirate 6? However, they can't assume Amber loses for the next 5 years. Well, because that's their testimony, but I think the jury's going to be the same way you are, going, well, he had a price set for Pirate 6. There was a rate locked, but the project hadn't happened yet, so it's speculative. Just like with her, she had a rate locked for Aquaman 3, so it's speculative as to her. It's fair.
That's
Lawyer
true,
Andrea
but then
Burkhart
again, Johnny
tweeted,
Depp was
"There
actually
is a law in
fired, like
Virginia saying
completely. Like you're
cross
not
X
going to be
is
in this movie. Whereas
basic
Amber
right,
Heard,
which can't be
she
denied
still has
by
like 10
time
minutes
limits.
in the
Her
film,
team will risk it."
right? So
That's
yeah, her role has
interesting.
been
I'll go
diminished.
look that up.
And
I
it's a
don't
great
practice in
thing for
Virginia, but I
society,
will look that
because
up.
we don't need to look
I
that
wonder if that's
bitch in
in a
the eyes
civil
in the
context
movie.
or a criminal
But
context. 'cause
Johnny
those are
Depp
two
was completely
different
thrown out
things.
of Warner and Disney and all
Can't Johnny
that.
do the
So
same? I mean, call similar. He already did.
Okay, sure. While we do that, can we have the witness take this?
So
they're
Jennifer Howell is
approaching.
going to testify.
So that's
but
what's
it's gonna be
happening
by
right now.
deposition,
We're going
which
to see
I
where
think
we
is a
are
mistake
because
by
we've now zoomed
Johnny
past
Depp's team, because
483.
I think
So
that,
for all the 147 of you, thank you guys.
her testimony
for the
should be
support.
live, but
They
again,
are up
maybe
at the
it's
bench.
just
We're
that
gonna
she
pull
couldn't
that
go
up.
up there in such
Question: If
short
Disney
notice.
was worried about losing time and money with JD, what
I don't
happened because
know.
of Australia accident? It doesn't
All right,
it
well, I
make
guess
Amber
the break
Heard
wasn't that
responsible for it?
long.
Only if you believe Amber Heard's responsible for the finger, which they are arguing she is not. So. Hi from Estonia. Hello. First time catching you live. Thank you. My husband, psychoanalyst, laughed his ass off along with me while listening to Spiegel. That Spiegel was an adventure. I'm going to have to rewatch. That might be a whole podcast episode of its own. Question is
Dr.
the hand,
Spiegel was
is Hand
a
the big
guy,
guy
I
from
guess.
Warner
I
Brothers
was not
testifying
around
tomorrow?
for it,
Don't
but
know.
I guess he was
Here's
so bad
some
of a
pictures.
witness,
Yes.
and he
All right,
looked
ready
really
for jury?
scary. And apparently, the reviews say he was
It's a
accused of
The
pushing
sound
patient
mixer
to
is a
kill
comment
themselves.
going
He
maybe
was
to
a
the white
doctor,
noise
so,
that
oh
plays
boy.
while they're at sidebar. Could this swing the other way for Depp? Hugh Grant. I don't know. We've already had Depp's experts. They're going to try to do it. Rottenborn looks like he's standing up slowly. He's like, I'm up. I'm tired. I'm here. Ugh. And it's a lot darker in the courtroom today. I don't know if all the blinds are closed or if it's the weather. It's very gray here today. Just wanted to say thank you for all the time and hard work. You're welcome. I'm happy to be here. I mean, happy and tired. Question: chain of causation came into consideration if no actual evidence of abuse in the first place. I think that's the entire argument during closing from Depp's team. Question: what does the pandemic come in? I don't know why nobody's brought it up.
All right, you can be seated. All right,
I don't know.
cross-examination.
Okay, here we go.
Do
Cross.
you think they'll bring up the Warner Brothers press
Good
release?
Grab a
afternoon,
soda,
everybody.
man.
Hello. how are you?
Can someone put in the
Great.
chat? Should
We're
I
great,
order
So
a
citizen.
smoothie?
you
I'm gonna order a
repeatedly
smoothie. Hold on.
testified about what you were
It
asked.
goes to
as
damages.
the
Yep.
You know what, I'm
Depp
just gonna go get a
Waldman
soda.
statements.
Unless anyone in the chat.
Oh, what's
Should I get a
this bigger?
smoothie?
You don't have
Yes or
any
no?
knowledge whether Mr. Depp knew of the statements that Mr. Waldman made. Do you?
Only with association with Mr. Waldman, correct?
You don't know when the first time Mr. Depp learned about those statements.
I don't know.
No. And the association you're talking about is that Mr. Waldman worked from time to time as Mr. Depp's attorney, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Very
may we
carefully.
approach?
Okay.
Really? So the association with Depp, again, to get to the Waldman statements being defamatory, you've got to get to the fact that Waldman was an agent for Depp at the time the statements were made and other things. So it's asking, why are you assuming that these statements are attributable to Depp? Do you think they're forcing Whitney to be there? Like, I don't know. She's testified. I don't know if she wants to be there. She had mad face on the other day when she was in court. The judge looks dumbfounded. Like, is this the argument I'm hearing right now? So we'll see.
Yeah, they're
could they have
approaching.
made a pretrial motion not to discuss COVID
And,
or afraid it could be used against JD's claim? If it applies for one, it
She's probably
applies to
thinking,
all.
dude, you're making a dumbass fucking
Rachel,
argument.
it's
I have a
okay. I
double
never
standard for Amber
assume
Heard.
super chats. I
ruining
try
it
to
for
get
me.
to
Come on.
questions that are chatted and not chatted.
Think you guys are that
so
stupid?
You being here is supporting the channel, and I appreciate it. Everything else is tremendously generous, and I am always grateful. I'm always
All right.
surprised.
And I understand that you're testifying as a damages expert.
So the
and
court said kind of
wear
move
two
on.
hats, talking both about Mr. Depp's damages.
So the court said kind of
and
move on.
about
Which is fair.
Ms. Heard's purported damages. Let's talk about Ms. Heard's damages first. You understand that you have to testify as to damages that resulted from the Waldman statements, correct?
That was my analysis.
Most of your testimony, however, was
Likely.
just simply testimony about things that occurred after the Waldman statements.
That's what I was tasked with, yes.
Right. The mere fact that there were activities after the Waldman statements doesn't establish that the Waldman statements caused any damages, does it?
When you look at the time frame of when the Waldman statements came out, and you look at what was going on with Ms. Heard's career prior to the
I don't like
statements
Wayne
and
Dennis,
what
and
happened
I don't
after the
understand why Ben
statements,
Chu is
it's
not
very clear to
testifying.
make that correlation. That
I
they were
would love
caused
to
by
know
those
why.
statements and the campaign that
I'm not
followed afterwards in
questioning.
terms of the
I don't know
negative
why
social
he's
media.
not doing the cross.
All right, that's an interesting thing because the witness this morning actually described the notion of what's correlation and what's causation. And correlation does not imply causation, does it, ma'am?
I'm not an expert in semantics.
Okay.
Or now you
Well,
don't want to
that's
answer a
Who
question.
was purporting to say that Ms. Heard lost between 45 and
Snappy.
$50 million. I'm
Snappy.
trying to understand where you
Correlation
put
and
the
causation
link
is not semantics,
between the
though.
Waldman statements and all the other activity that occurred since then.
As I stated and very clearly wanted to make sure that everybody understood was that it was a time frame under, between which the Waldman statements were made and the negative decline in her
I
career
agree with you. It's not
started
semantics.
happening
It's
and
not semantics.
in discussions with her agents
It's not
and her
semantics.
publicists, there was a very tight timeline and a very
Oh, it
close
was
link
It was
to when
sassy.
those statements came out and when
was
everything
sassy.
started pulling
It was
away
funny,
from Ms.
though.
Heard.
Right, but
It's
what
funny.
you're talking about is just a link in time. You do not put any causal connection between what Mr. Waldman purportedly said and
Reportedly,
the damages
because
that
again-
Ms. Heard purportedly suffered. You have no idea whether
Exactly.
Mr. Waldman's
No idea.
And again, this
caused
cuts
any
both
damage
ways.
to Ms. Heard. Do you?
Well, actually, both the
Oh, I
words
think
in
Dennis
the
Singh comes off as
statements were used as
condescending. He
hashtags
does.
in the
He does.
campaign, as well as when
You
the
need Camille to
statistical
be
and
there to really push her
investigative
buttons.
analysis was done on the social media campaign. It turned out that 1 in 4 of the statements had Waldman or Waldminian in them. So that was another
Waldminian?
connection
This is
that
going
I
to
was
the
able to
former-
make between the defamatory statements and
I thought
the
it was
negative
Waldmignon.
negativity that the studios and the product endorsements and the television and the press connected as well.
All right, let's start with first principles. If they're true, they're not defamatory,
I
correct?
don't know that. It was,
Again,
I
that's
believe, in
outside the scope
2020
of
or
my
2021.
Okay.
expertise.
All right, let's then go back to what
The
you
judge
just
isn't there yet.
testified to. And I think
Spiegel
you
was the
said
most we've
the
seen the
Waldman
judge
statements
narrow
appeared
somebody
in
in.
hashtags.
I said words from the Waldman statements appeared in hashtags.
Right,
I
and the
love playing
hashtags
jury.
that were analyzed, however, don't have the Waldman statements in the hashtag.
That's right.
I've also seen them online myself.
Is he going to say Amber Turd?
Well, but the analysis that Mr. Schnell did,
Yep, that's
he
his
looked
job.
at 4.
There you go.
Right?
That was Schnell's analysis, and I do believe I remember reading that, yes.
All right. And the 25% that you just
Sam.
raised, that's Mr. Schnell's analysis. You didn't do that. He did it.
Correct.
All right. So you know what Mr. Schnell did. And he didn't look at hashtags that contained the Waldman statement words. He looked at justice for Johnny Depp, right?
There you go.
That's one of them, yes?
Say it.
One of them,
Say it.
of the 1.2
Yep.
million
He's
hits
going to get into this a lot.
that you talked about,
Oh,
that
boy.
was 900,000, 984,000.
He's like,
Well,
he's
also in my
just ready.
conversations with Mr. Schnell, we talked about all the words that were in the statement that also appeared. So what he wrote in his report and what I had in my conversation may not have been the
All
same
right,
thing.
ma'am, I don't want to hear about your conversation with
Oh,
Mr. Schnell.
that's a little
Yeah.
It's part of what I relied on, and I'm
Okay.
allowed to talk about that.
All right, so your conversation
she's right.
with Mr. Schnell, let's
Sassy.
move beyond that. Let's talk about what the other hashtags were.
It's not uncommon that during cross people stop
Amber
looking at
Heard
the
is an
jury and
abuser.
focus
That's not
in.
in the Waldman statement, is it?
Oh, he's going to say Amber Turd.
The fact that she was called a hoax can be related to Amber Heard as the abuser, but no, those words were not used.
Oh, there you go.
And we
There
just
you
don't
go.
like Amber. That's not in the Waldman statement.
No, it isn't.
Correct.
It's just
And
a public
Amber
court of
Turd
opinion.
is not in the Waldman statement.
Correct.
Right. None of those things are. And in terms of the use of the words fraud and hoax, that appeared in only 6.5% of the millions
Oh yeah, they're getting snappy with each other. He's
They
being
are.
rude too, though.
Of
He's being a
tweets that Mr.
dick,
Schnell analyzed, right?
But I'm here for it. The
I
problem
don't have his
is
definition or his.
it's
report
gonna
in
look
front of me, but
bad
we can look
with
at it
these
together if
young
you'd like to.
motherfuckers
I don't
as
think
a
there was a
jury
reason for him
because
to go in.
oh
So
man
what?
versus
And you said
woman.
the
Waldman
Waldman
is there was.
He's
appears to
being a dick.
45%.
But I think
Waldman
she's holding her own
Waldman.
to against
Waldman.
Dennison.
According to Mr. Schnell, yes.
Mr. Schnell said Waldman.
But you,
He did.
That's your only evidence, however, that any of this activity has any link to Mr. Waldman. Is that correct?
Well, no, we also look at the timeline because those campaigns were not active prior to the Waldman statements, and then they started appearing. So there's some connectivity there as
Oh,
well.
she did snap first.
Mr. Depp bears no responsibility for the social media campaigns. He doesn't. If the social media campaigns caused Ms. Heard to lose her ability to generate income, that's not the Waldman statements.
I'm gonna-
That's a social media
I'm going to
campaign.
object, Your Honor. May we approach? Okay.
I don't know why you're
Huh.
approaching.
I wonder what they're approaching about. They're going to have to get to the audio, and I'm disappointed that Dennison didn't start with the audio saying,
Yeah.
when is the time that these audios were released, and going through that audio. I was hoping that that's where he would start. Maybe it's where he'll end, but they have to get to
They have to touch the
they
audio.
have to get to it. I also don't like that he's assuming there's a social media campaign. Saying the social media use, I think, is more fair.
Yep.
But the Heard's position of the case is that this was an orchestrated social media campaign by Waldman and therefore by Depp, and he's allowed to get into it. But they have to ask about the audio. I think maybe they should have started with that, and they didn't. But it is fair to talk about correlation and causation, because
if
you
they
don't
don't
know
touch the
what
audio here,
caused
they're
the damage,
fucked.
right? No,
They
we're
need to talk
correlating
about
it
the
through this
audio.
and this and that, and that's fair.
Because
I'm confused. Is this not direct? No, this
this-
is
this is just-
cross-examination. The
it's
most
gonna
fun part of a trial,
hurt
other
them
than closing
if they don't
arguments.
talk
we love
about
a good
the audio here.
cross-examination. So, yeah, it's got its cringy
All right.
moments.
So I'm just looking for all evidence of the causal connection that you claim exists between
you need to
Moved
get to
on.
the
$35
audio,
million
Dennison.
in
Get to it.
damages that you assert and the three statements made by Mr. Waldman.
Well, I also looked at Ms. Heard's career after the divorce proceedings and other lawsuits that she was either involved with or was discussed. And her career.
She did great after the
might have had a
divorce. What are you
pause,
talking
but She
about?
was able to overcome that when she did Aquaman and she did The Stand,
That's what I was
both
thinking.
very prominent productions. And there was no dramatic downturn in her career after any publicity.
Ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you have notes with you?
No, there's dust.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's just dust, and I'm just distracting myself. But I guess
I'm
you know,
sorry.
it's just
I didn't-
nerves. It's really just that I just
Yeah, no,
there's
that's
just
okay.
dust. Sorry.
It's a very
So you
human
looked at her
moment.
career,
But after the other
and
expert
you
had
looked
notes,
at
it's
the
fair
way
to
her
ask.
career was moving.
Right. So as I was saying, her career was moving forward, and even she had been able to overcome the negative publicity surrounding the divorce or the initial filing of the UK lawsuit and the other lawsuits, anything that she was associated. She overcame that. She did Justice League, and she did Aquaman, and she did The Stand, and she got the L'Oreal contract all after that. The only time her career slowed down and stopped was at the same time that those
That was a very human
defamatory
moment.
statements came out. So
And he did apologize.
But there was a lot of other activity
She's
that
like, "I'm just
happened
kinda
following the
nervous."
defamatory
Yeah,
statements. You said every time
Yeah,
Mr.
because the other
Depp
witnesses are
files a
having notes,
lawsuit,
and if it looks like he
it
has
ignites
notes,
the
he
fire
just wants to
around
check
the
up. He
both
doesn't
of
want
This
her
is
to
a
be
good line of
reading. and
question.
shit.
no, I actually said it
Like Dr.
ignites the
Hughes.
fire mostly around Mr. Depp. That was
Well,
in
you didn't
that
use the
was
words
excuse
both
me,
of them?
please.
I'm sorry.
That
Oh,
was in context of when I was asked
He's
about
allowed
Mr.
to cut
Depp's
her off,
career.
but I think she
That
did a
was
good
not in
job holding
context
her
of when
own.
I was asked about Ms.
excuse me,
Heard's
please.
career.
I would beat the shit
not
out of
the
her in
same
that
fire?
courtroom.
It is and isn't. Who's
mentally,
the
that is.
protagonist in the case in the UK was Mr. Depp. Ms.
Excuse me,
Heard
please. I would have
was
been like,
a
no, ma'am.
witness to that
You're under
case. She
my
was not part
questioning.
of
Shut the
case.
fuck up
So
and let
most
me
of the
talk,
negative
bitch.
press went.
There was enormous amounts of negative activity around.
And if
Ms.
a guy
Heard
were to do that, I'd be
as a
like,
result of the
motherfucker,
UK
we can
case.
go outside right
Isn't
now.
that
You
true?
shut the fuck up. I'm
I like
questioning
her
you,
very much as
bitch.
a witness.
There was negativity, yes, about both of them in the case, yes.
You're right. substantial amounts of negativity.
Right.
Right? And so you can't.
This is exactly
tell
why I
me
think Camille
that
needs to be up here.
Negativity.
Because if she would have done that
isn't
to a
the
woman,
thing
if
that
Camille would have
keeps
popped
you
back with,
or misheard
bitch,
from
shut the
working.
fuck
She's
up.
been a good
It wouldn't
witness.
have been like,
Well, again,
but if
she's
Dennison
just
would have
gonna
done
go
that,
on the negative statements were a much closer time
oh,
frame to the press and publicity around Aquaman and The Stand than the UK case, which was months later. So again, I will look at the defamatory statements as kind of the igniting force, and it was promoted and kind of more oxygen was put on the fire when the UK came out. So it kind of became a snowball effect of the match was lit and it kept getting stronger.
Is it a
and stronger.
snowball or is it a
Right.
fire? Are
Yeah,
we in
that's what I wanna
backdraft,
know. You're
or is
mixing
Olaf
snow
running
and
around?
flames.
I'm confused.
I don't know.
Stop mixing
Connection
metaphors.
between the
Don't
UK
do that.
case and her damages, right?
No.
All right. And you can't distinguish between
Get to the audio,
UK
dude. Get to the audio.
bad publicity and the bad publicity that derived after the Waldman statements.
What time frame are you talking about with the bad publicity from the UK case, so we can at least be specific on time frames?
Well,
Fair.
you talked about a
Yes.
5-year time window.
A 5-year time window from 2020 to the 2 years that we're at now, plus the 3 years moving forward, is what I talked about in terms of the time frame that it would take someone who's been under this much duress to kind of rehabilitate their career. That's when we talked about the 5 years.
Right,
They
that's when we
caused
talked
that
about
duress.
The 5 years. So you look over this 5-year window, and during the period that precedes this window, there's lots and lots of negative press about Miss Heard, irrespective
This is the part that's
of the
needed.
Waldman statements, correct?
Before the Waldman statements, as I said, she was able to overcome that and she got great
But
jobs
there
and was
were
getting
negative
endorsement
statements
contracts.
before that.
Right, but after the Waldman statements, there is more activity in the press, there's more social media activity, and
He
you
needs to get to
cannot
dates.
put a causal connection between that activity
He needs
and
to
what
get to
Mr.
dates.
Waldman
Yeah, he
said.
does. You
It
gotta
can be the
connect the timeline
instigating
here because
event, if you want me to
she's
call it that. We'll call the
steamrolling
Waldman
him.
statements the instigating
Kind of like
event
everybody
of the
else, honestly.
torrential
Wayne
rain of
Dennison is
social
just,
media
I bet he's a
tactics
good
that
lawyer.
Waldman
I
has
just
gone
don't
on
like
for
him
years now.
questioning. He's just
The
not good
instigating
when he's
event.
questioning.
And therefore,
Now it's raining.
your damage analysis
That's me
with
being
a
snarky.
degree, some degree, I guess, of reasonable certainty is that once there's an instigating event, everything that happens thereafter is fair game for damages.
Just saying.
Well, it's like a fire. If
Huh.
one tree burns and then more air or wind
Can't
is
say
added
it's
to
not.
it, then the next tree burns and the whole forest burns. But if that first fire hadn't started with the one tree, there would have been no loss
we're
of
burning.
acreage. So you can look at it with that same analogy.
We've hit all the elements. Wait, was there wind? Is there a tornado? Is there a sharknado?
Trees burn one at a time, don't they, man?
No. If you
You know, I'm
burn,
not
wait,
a firefighter.
if
I'm
we
not gonna go there
burn,
with you, but
you
obviously we
burn
know
with
that a
us.
single match can cause thousands of acres to burn. So
let's talk about
we can leave it at that.
Now we're talking
movie
about
lines.
I think I went there with you.
You did. Stop trying to fix
All right,
it,
let's do
Dennison.
this.
Move on. Don't be weird.
You decided that
Is it if I burn,
There
you burn
were
with us? Hunger Games? I think it's
a
that.
number of persons that you described as
It's gonna be a shark.
comparable
We're going to end up with somebody in a Sharknado.
in order to determine what
We are just
what
missing
Ms.
snakes on a
Heard-
plane.
was likely to make over time, correct?
Be Armageddon.
Yes.
All right. Of those comparable actors and actresses,
Do
is
any
there
of
a
them have
single
audio?
one who has had any press suggesting that they defecated in the marital bed?
Oh, shit.
I don't know. I have no
Okay.
idea.
You would agree with me
I love that she
that
laughs.
that
I like
is a
her.
negative
I like that she laughed.
influence with respect to Hollywood.
If one believed it, yes.
Would
Yeah, if
you
one believed it-
agree that Amber Heard
You know, it was
shit the
reported-
bed? We've gotten
Yeah.
back to poop.
It certainly has been discussed. We don't have any proof or video of anybody defecating on the bed.
Oh, now we're
I
back to
I
shit
certainly
on the
do
bed,
not
huh?
have proof or, video of anybody defecating in a bed. I'll-
Agreed.
That's a good thing.
Great.
Yeah.
so- But what you
I love that.
know is that Mr. Waldman didn't say anything about defecating in a bed.
Why are we going
They're trying to
there?
get to these other negative press. It's kind of a
Correct.
mess.
Right. So all of the bad publicity around that activity
What if any poop in the
has
bed?
nothing to do with Waldman, right?
Waldman, as you said, didn't talk about defecation.
Okay.
Waldman didn't talk about poop.
And you haven't considered how that story has adversely impacted Miss
I love how
Heard's
That's the
Waldman was
career.
point.
thrown out
We've
of the
circled
case,
back around to
Yet
the
he's
point.
a big part
That
of their
story,
argument.
you're going to ask
And
me
he's
for a
the
causational
argument for
link
Amber
between
Heard's
that
case.
poop story and her demise of her career. I can't. No, I'm not going to do that, nor can I.
I'm
You
not going
couldn't
to do
it.
that.
Can I make it? No, I can't.
Right. And you can't
Right,
do it with
bitch.
Waldman statements either, can you?
Well, again, I did, and I have, and I stand by
Huh.
them. So
You did by just
Interesting.
pointing out the time frame are relatively close.
It's a good
the
point.
time frame and the instigation and,
I
and
just
if
hold
you
this
will, the
here.
rallying of the forces again.
It'll sit on my
It's like a
belly.
lit tree. It's
because,
gonna
I
ignite
just wanna lay
everything.
back,
It's like free
so
game afterwards.
I'll just talk into it like
was
this.
The instigating event, if you will, and that's what I looked at. Yes.
All right. So from your perspective, anything that happened after Waldman that was negative to your client is attributable to Waldman and therefore attributable to the damage analysis that you made.
Is that what she
I
said?
was tasked with looking at that specifically, and that's what I was asked to limit it to. I was not asked to look at anything else.
Yeah, why aren't they asking about audio?
Go to the audio.
Jason
Audio.
Momoa.
Audio.
That's one of
Audio.
your comparables, right?
Go to the
He's
audio.
Jason
He's
Momoa.
Go!
been prominent since 1999. He was in Baywatch in 99. 44 episodes on Baywatch. Do you know that?
You can look it up if you did. I'll go with that.
Right. But you remember him on Baywatch.
Actually, didn't watch Baywatch, but
All right.
he certainly had the physique for it. So
Stargate
Yes, girl.
Atlantis. He was on that. Many episodes.
Get it.
right?
Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Waldman
He
seems more
played Conan the
comfortable.
Barbarian
He stopped stammering.
In TV or film.
film.
Okay. I don't have Mr. Momoa's
Conf-
resume memorized, so
No, I'm just trying to understand how you came to the conclusion they're comparable, because I'm just want to spend a few minutes talking about Mr. Momoa's
Honored, we
career.
need to do independent research on Momoa's career on Baywatch.
Game of Thrones was one of the most popular things on TV for a
Of all
period
time ever.
3 years, correct?
yes, he was.
And he was in Game of Thrones,
Yes, he
was
was.
so good
Yep.
at Game of Thrones.
and
Game of Thrones. is
he's
amazing.
Aquaman, right?
He's
Yes,
he
he is.
Right.
is.
He's the title character in Aquaman.
Did Dennison want to say he's motherfucking
Yes.
Aquaman? Because I
And
felt
he
it.
was-
I felt that.
Actually, Aquaman in a movie before the Aquaman movie started.
Yeah, in Justice League.
You mean
know
in
that?
Justice League and other things like that, yeah.
Batman versus Superman,
He's
Dawn of
Aquaman.
Justice. Wasn't he in that as Aquaman?
I didn't see that one.
Didn't see it.
No,
Miss Heard wasn't in that movie, was she?
not that I know of, no.
No. And he was in both Justice League movies.
Correct?
Uh,
I appreciate a chat
And
that's
he's in
thirsty for
Aquaman
Jason
too.
Momoa. Thank you. Y'all give me
Yes.
life.
they used him in the second Lego movie, right?
Yes?
Um,
I love the Lego movies so much.
he's one of the most heroic characters in the recent Dune blockbuster,
Which happened post Aquaman.
right?
Zendaya's in that too.
In fact,
I love that we're just
likely
going
his
through.
character-
He's not the lead, though.
I
No.
love that we're. Well, neither's
Yeah.
Amber Heard,
Did you
woman.
ever read Dune?
Pardon?
Did you ever read Dune?
I know, but I've seen the movie.
You understand whether his character will come back from the dead
Boy, oh
in
boy.
the third movie?
As again, I didn't read the book,
Spoilers
so
to
you might-
Dune.
I don't know.
Spoilers.
We're just talking about that one.
Spoilers,
Spoilers
bitch.
to Dune. Did
Oh,
you hear him
man.
go? Ugh,
Dude.
spoilers. What is
He's
happening?
one of the principal leads in the new Fast and Furious franchise movie Fast X, right?
He is.
I don't know that for sure, no.
Okay.
What just happened?
But that's
I don't know what
not
just
the
happened,
career
but-
path that Ms. Heard has had.
Spoilers.
She's never been the title character in a movie. She hasn't spent
This is so
years on
ridiculous.
television. She did what? 8 TV shows?
She's So spoiled.
Single episodes?
His derision for just watching the movie was
Again, I don't have
hilarious.
her resume. If
She's
you want to show it
definitely
to
not a
me, we
nerd.
can count them together.
But it was funny that he was like, have you read the book? No.
Mr. Memo
We've
remains
spoiled so much today.
well liked, even though he's engaged in a recent divorce from another actor. That's correct, right?
I don't know. I don't follow his fan base.
Apparently,
You
you've been
don't follow
following him.
Jason
That's all you
Momoa?
compared
You use him as a
to
comparable?
Amber Heard.
Come up
Jason
with a
Momoa.
tweet
How do you
like
not
that.
follow
But
his
I don't
family?
follow his fan base. I understand him
Did
as
she
a
say dude? Yeah, she
prominent
said
actor in the
dude.
business, but I don't follow his fan base.
She said, dude.
On a
Isn't,
daily
the
basis.
isn't fan base one of the things that you analyze?
Of course, you can look at numbers, but I don't keep a watch on his social media feeds.
All right. All right.
You understand that Jason
Indicated
Momoa has
that,
never been accused of pooping.
Gal
in bed.
Gadot is in Wonder Woman.
Yes, she's a star.
She's in fact Wonder Woman.
You know, she's good too.
Yep. All right. She's the title character. And there's been now multiple Wonder Woman movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And even before that, she was
No.
in franchise films.
Caps still get blocked
Which one are you referring to?
Fast and Furious.
by, they get swooped.
Excuse me, I honestly don't
Caps got
remember her
swooped
being
by
that as
Nightbot
one of
because
the
they're
main
hard for me to
characters. I
read.
know it's The Rock and
You,
that
you-
whole
you
crew.
didn't even know she was in the Fast
I
and
can't
Furious franchise.
believe
I've
he's
seen it
not
on the
getting to
resume,
the
but
central part of this
again, I'm not a
argument,
fan of the fan.
which
Fast
is
and
the
Furious.
audio. I
You'll
just cannot believe
agree with me that
it.
Wonder
In all
Woman
honesty.
is a more prominent role than Mira?
If you're going to talk about apples to apples in that exact movie, yes.
Yeah, of course it's
What
a more
about-
prominent role. Jason Momoa
does
is
Mira
the
have-
Oh no, I
star.
say dude all the
Any,
time. I thought it was funny that she
You know,
said dude. I loved it.
self-titled franchise film.
I thought it was funny that she said dude.
Not yet.
That
Because he's
that was
spoiled.
pretty hilarious. In
He's
fact,
spoiled
she
dude.
would do.
And Gadot played a
Most
much
personable witness,
bigger
but very
role in the
sassy
movie They
witness.
were in together.
That's
You
for
just
sure.
listen
I
to the
still would have
audio.
manhandled her, but hey,
In what
You know
movie they
what?
were in together?
That's
Oh, in
just
Justice
me.
League?
Yeah.
I agree.
I haven't counted the screen time, so I can't really say.
Okay.
Haven't
You
counted screen time. If
indicated
she's shooting looks at
that
JD,
Another person
like
that you
peekees.
compared Ms. Heard with is Zendaya.
Zendaya, yeah.
Zendaya.
Person so famous she goes by one name.
Yes.
I realize
I
Yes,
guess when you have a name
that's
that's a Z, it works, I guess.
All right. She's been on the Disney Channel since she's 13 years old.
Right.
Chat
Right.
has written this cross
What
examination
an actor.
already.
Yes, she did.
Right. She was singing and dancing and swinging from trapezes in The Greatest Showman,
She
right?
was so good in Greatest Showman.
Yes.
She's now been in multiple Spider-Man movies.
Yes.
She's 10 years younger than your client.
Right.
But this is a person that you deemed incomparable.
Microphone.
Well, as I was explaining to you how I chose them, when you look at superhero characters, there's not that many to
and
pull
by the
from.
way,
So I
I'm
just
sorry to
tried
have to say,
I
I'm
worked
gonna
on
have to
pulling
go.
characters that
So
were in
live stream is gonna
superhero
end,
movies
but I
that
will
were about
leave
the
a
same
link
age range within 10 years,
to the,
as you've noted to me.
this
Thank you.
person's live stream.
And also just where her career
Before
would have
leave,
gone.
I
I
will
said
leave a
that
link in the
they were
chat so you guys
comparable.
can
They're not
copy it
identical.
and,
So you
and
can
watch
just
the trial
look
through
at
her
what
because
their
she's got good
career has done
analysis.
either before that
So,
superhero movie,
but
than in
it's not going to
others,
be in the next
or the one
15,
they were
20
in,
minutes. So
and then you look at
I'll
where
still
her
be here.
career should have gone. Even
Just
though
thought I'd
she
let
may
y'all
not have been
know.
at the stature of a Zendaya at that time,
Zendaya.
you can still look at it as a comparable trajectory of what happens when you're in a blockbuster movie. It's just a reference point. It's not meant to be identical. They're not meant to be the same people, or not even have the exact same career. It's meant to be a reference point. Simple as that.
So far, everybody we've looked at have been in more blockbuster movies than Ms. Heard.
But Miss Heard was
fair.
also in
That
the
is
biggest
true.
blockbuster movie, and the light that shines on Jason Momoa will also shine on her. So you have
Not
to
really.
look at it in context
Huh.
of the biggest movie that
In the
DC
DC
Comics is,
universe.
and also one of the biggest box office films ever, probably
No,
within
it's
the
not.
top 10, because I've looked at it.
Top
Right?
24.
So
the chat
that
has
light
fact
is
checked
going to
it.
shine brighter
Yeah, top
on
24.
her,
That's not number one.
than someone
bitch.
who wasn't in that movie. And again, it would have just helped her in her career move forward, not stalled it and be in her world be silent afterwards.
For the jury to accept your damage analysis, they would have to agree with you that Ms. Heard was on the precipice of a
Don't make her
meteoric
answer a
rise.
legal question.
That's the word you use, right?
Actually, no, I didn't. I did use meteoric with someone like, let's say, Gal Gadot or Zendaya, but I actually gave you a range and gave the jury a range that they weren't all going to have a meteoric rise. Some of them would be smaller, right? And so what the numbers that I gave you do not represent a meteoric rise. A meteoric rise is when Jason Momoa goes from, I don't know, 4 million, 5 million to a $50 million payday. That's a meteoric shift in our business. But when someone has contracts that actually go from 1 million to the first one, 2 million, and then 4 million, that is standard for a franchise that is perceived to do well. And so I based those calculations on very specific numbers that were already contracted. I wanted to stay within reality and look at the numbers that were already contracted for Ms. Heard and just move out forward on one film a year, maybe a TV show here or there, and some endorsement contracts, which is very typical for an actor in our business to make that kind of money. It just is what happens.
With reading the books, though.
The example you just used is
But
somebody
I've
went
only
from
seen the
1 million to
book-
2
read the
million
book
to
now.
4 million. Your client has never had a contract that exceeds $2 million, correct?
Incorrect.
All right.
In the Aquaman it's actually the Justice League contract because they're associated. So Justice League, Aquaman, she was paid 1 million. Then in Aquaman 2, it was written that she was going to earn 2 million. And if there's
It was
another
written.
one, it was written in
was
the
written,
terms that
but
she
she
would
didn't
get
make
4
it.
million. So it actually was a contract
If-
that Ms. Heard signed with
If
the
there's another
studio.
one. Is there an
But the
Aquaman
movie
3?
hasn't been made.
Aquaman 2 hasn't even come out yet. So the
Right.
third one is still
Yeah,
on
y'all
deck, as
spoiled
they
it.
say.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been put on the shelf
okay.
to try and see if they're going to get rid
Let's
of
put it
Amber
differently.
Heard.
Your
That's
there's
why.
no
client's never
contract
been
That's why it
paid
hasn't
$6
come out
million
yet.
for a
And
movie
because
she-
fans are
she
threatening to
did.
boycott it. That's
There's
why.
no-
She was paid $2 million for Aquaman.
Right.
2, Aquaman 2.
And she's never been paid $4 million.
She was contracted to be paid, and
No,
when the
no.
movie goes,
Has
that's
she
what
been
will be
paid?
So that's what I said. She was
If
on
she's
the
in the
pre-
movie.
right. But if Aquaman 2 does even nearly as well as Aquaman 1, there's going to most likely be a third one. So we
But if
can look
she's in
at
the
that as a
movie.
precedent that was set in writing, actually.
Different than
If the movie
Depp's
makes
handshake agreement, which is fair.
$795 million. You think there's likely to be a next one?
If it was the first or the second one, but if it's the fifth in the series, I assume that you're referring to Pirates 5. It performed well at the box office, yes, but certainly not in comparison to some of the other ones. And that's what a studio like Disney will look at to say, has that franchise had its run? Or do we need
A
to change it?
studio
or stop
like
it?
Disney wants to walk away from an $800 million payday.
I agree with them. Get
Well,
into Pirates. Just
An 800 million payday has to be put into context to the budget that it costs to get that movie and then the marketing thereafter. And with the increasing costs and not only Mr. Depp's
Just
fee
get to
or
the
any,
audio,
and plus the
though.
other actors' fees, plus general production costs that are getting more expensive, then you put in the marketing costs, which are sometimes 1, 2, or 3 times the budget of the film.
I want to
A
know
film
what
like
text
that,
message
a studio
Rottenborn
can
has on
spend
his
600,
Apple
800
Watch.
million just making and marketing the
Rottenborn has
film.
an Apple Watch.
So it
Ooh.
Does he have a poop emoji on his
is a
Apple Watch
lot of money.
face?
And it seems like a really good box office.
The
but
poop
you have to
emoji, he
put
probably
into
does.
perspective
Yeah,
of
I
what's spent
wonder
on production,
why they're
marketing,
allowed to get
and
text
the overhead
messages and
costs
read
that
them
the
in the
studio
courtroom,
takes.
but okay.
So you have
I also
again, it's
wonder
all in
something.
context of
Hey,
what the
is
budget
it a
of the film and the
stainless
marketing
steel
well
or
outside
is
the
it a
scope of the
titanium
question.
Apple
Let's put
Watch?
some
Is
more
it the
things in
Series 7?
context. On
Or
it,
the Series
Sure.
6 or 7?
That's another one you used.
Yes.
All right. She most recently, I guess, in Deep Water with Ben Affleck.
I don't, again, I know some of the movies that she's been in. I don't remember about Deep Water. I don't,
They're your
is that,
comps.
I don't even know if that's out yet, to
Okay.
be honest.
She was in the last James Bond movie.
Yes, she was.
They were talking about making her the next female Bond, right?
Right after her big Stars Born moment, yeah, she's gotten a lot more big roles, which is what we had hoped from Miss
So
Heard.
where are the damages?
What we had hoped for Miss Heard.
And you said that
Interesting.
Breakout Role was
Well,
Blade
we
Runner?
had hoped for Miss Heard. So she's on
It was,
Amber
it was
Heard's
like the
team,
first
so
big,
she's not an independent
studio
witness.
movie that
She's
got a lot of
literally
attention. I believe that was the one that we can
discredited.
look at as.
We
as a
were
marker for
hoping.
her.
We
Sure.
were
It's just
hoping.
interesting that what we had
She
hoped
could have
for.
covered her
Did you
ass by
watch
saying
Blade
Amber
Runner
Heard's team
2049?
was hoping.
I did.
Do you know what she did in the movie?
It was years ago. I don't remember exactly what she was in, what role she played, but she was in that movie. And from that, her agents used that as leverage to get her more movies.
I think
You have no knowledge that her principal role in that movie was as a gigantic naked billboard?
Oh my God.
Are you saying that's the only thing she
Where
was? She was
the
a
fuck
jiggy,
is this
jiggy, jiggy billboard.
testimony
She wasn't
going?
in
She
the
had a
movie.
principal role in that movie.
I don't remember the movie well enough to know.
Where are
what
we
he's
going
asking.
with this?
And did you know that she was, I talked a little bit about Ben Affleck, right?
Right.
Right.
He's an interesting example because he's been in a role that's been recast multiple times.
We're talking about Batman?
You know that role?
We're talking about Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman.
Sure.
All right. So the title character in that DC series has seen how many actors?
Several.
Right. Michael Keaton,
He was Batman.
Val Kilmer.
You're a movie buff. Yeah.
You're a movie buff.
Christian Bale was Batman.
He
I
prepped
think
for
he
this
was. You're right.
George
cross.
Clooney was Batman.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to prove that he loves
He
movies.
prepped
Guess
for the
Robert
cross.
Pattinson is now Batman.
Because this is weird,
Apparently.
honestly.
Don't know.
Cedric
Okay.
Diggory's now Batman. It's happening.
But you're
Edward.
taking an absolutely
Let's talk about Robert
iconic role
Pattinson.
that the DC universe has recast 4, 5,
Can we
6
talk about the
times,
audio
right?
now? Like, stop.
So
Like, I
just
feel like we're
because you
just
have the
having
role
a
in the
chat
first
about
movie
movies.
or the second
That's a
movie
great point.
doesn't mean that you get it in the third movie or the fourth movie.
That's a great point.
Unless it's contractual.
Right. Unless it's contractual. So now let's look. Ana de Armas. She's like the new Marilyn Monroe on Netflix too, right?
I believe
Oh.
so. She was also in Knives Out, which is
My
probably even a
God.
bigger
Oh, yes,
breakout
Knives
role
Out.
for her. But
Right.
Yeah,
again,
nobody's
I chose
asking
Blade
about
Runner
the
because it's a single
audio.
thing. You have to start somewhere. But Knives Out probably was her.
That
big
was a good
moment in
movie.
time.
Thanks to my friend Hannah, who took me to watch it.
Chat, you guys
All
are
right.
cracking me up.
The other person you picked was Chris Pine.
Which seems like an
Chris
odd
Pine
choice.
is in a superhero movie,
Sure.
Wonder Woman.
He is in Wonder Woman. He's also, well, Star Trek being a blockbuster, but not necessarily a superhero, right?
Yeah.
I
he
mean,
was
not
in both
Star
Wonder
Wars.
Woman movies, right?
Yes, he plays the love interest to Gal Gadot, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I think he was
On
included.
Star Trek, in the Star Trek franchise, he plays Captain Kirk, right?
I don't remember exact role that he played. I didn't see it in the movie. I just know it from his
Oh.
resume, to be honest.
Do you know who Captain Kirk is?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Well,
But you
I know
didn't
the
know that
characters.
Chris Pine is Captain Kirk in Star Trek?
I hate to say I'm not a Star Trek fan.
That's okay to say.
But you
No, they're
used
not
Mr.
wasting time. They're
Pine
trying
as
to.
an example.
She was a good witness. That's
irrespective
why
of
they're
the
spending
fact you
time on it.
didn't even know he starred
They're trying to
in
say
this
these comps
franchise film.
aren't great.
I did know that he starred. That's why I used it. Again,
In fact,
we,
he was the
we,
most
we can
prominent
we can
person
go
in
over
the movie.
we can go over this a couple more times, and I'm happy to do so. All I wanted to do was look at from a small pool of people that have been in huge
Ma'am.
franchise movies or superhero movies,
Ma'am,
and give you a sense of what the range is or
Ma'am.
what someone's trajectory can be.
my
Again,
question's more
they're
specific
not
than that.
apples and apples. They're not both green apples or both red apples. I just was looking at a range. It's what we do.
He is. He's
It's what
talking
we
in all
do
caps
the
right now.
industry. It's what you do to kind of get a sense of how much you're going to pay an actor, what they're worth in the foreign markets and the
Ma'am, I
domestic
think my
markets.
question was, did you know whether he was in Star Trek?
Yes, and you
Okay.
were asking me why I chose him, which is what this conversation is about. And again, I chose him because he was part of Star Trek and Wonder Woman, but mostly because he was in Wonder Woman. And I don't know the exact time frame of which came first, but the fact that he's in both of them is consistent.
Is she saying
with
she doesn't
what
know which
actors
came
of this
first,
ilk
Star
tend
Trek
to do once they're in
or
a movie
Wonder
like this.
Woman?
But you talked about breakout roles,
Star
but you don't know
Trek?
which was his breakout role.
Chris Pine's been an actor. He's been a well-liked actor. He was in both Star Trek and in Wonder Woman. And
Did a
Star
movie
Trek
with Denzel
started.
Washington?
Pardon?
Did a movie with Denzel Washington?
Keep talking.
He's
and-
trying to
He's had
say
a good
his
career.
career is
Yeah,
not
great career.
comparable.
Yeah, much longer career than Ms. Hurt, right?
There
She
we
was
go.
on the precipice of a great career.
Yeah.
Oh, see. I'm trying to get the AirPods to connect. For now. What the fuck happened? Why the fuck did it get out of the thing? Alright, let's go back to StreamYard and share this shit. What the f-
So what you will rely on what Mr. Momoa's agent told you, but you have you didn't see the contract.
No, his agent is at William
All right,
Morris as
so
well, so they told
This
me
is the
that.
time I'm gonna have to.
Right.
I'll mute
And you've never
myself
seen anybody
I will
else's
turn off the
contracts
camera.
as to what they were making.
and
No, but in 25
will.
years
Well,
of
actually,
being in this business,
I'll
I
keep
understand
talking.
the basis of which actors are paid
I'll
when they're in
I'll
blockbuster
try,
films
but
and when they're
I'll mute
in
myself
large
because I gotta get
budget
ready to
studio
leave.
films. So
But I'll leave this here so you
it's
could
not
still
elite
watch
to
the
kind of
trial
understand where
while
the
I'm
actors
still
are
here.
making. And again,
Which
I
is
really
fair.
didn't want to try to be speculative in my analysis. I wanted to work with the numbers that Amber had contracted for already and just
The audio
take it
that
from there
leaked
and
around
said
the
if she'd
time of
done
the
one
UK
movie a
case
year and one
with her
series
mocking
and done
Depp.
product endorsement, that's how I
Tell
got
the
to
world
the number.
Johnny those
So I wasn't
audios.
looking to take her on a meteoric rise. I wasn't looking to give her the same career as Jason Momoa. I took her numbers that her agents had actually
To
negotiated.
determine
and worked from there.
damages.
When you say you weren't trying to give her the same career as Jason Momoa, the TV program that she most recently did, The Stand, she made $200,000 an episode. That's what you testified to.
Correct.
And in your damage analysis, you give her $1 million an episode had the Waldman statements not occurred. And you do it only because you believe Mr. Momoa has gotten that in something that he's in.
Right.
So you are giving her the same career as Jason Momoa.
Well, again, with someone like Ms. Heard, who was in a blockbuster film with the team at William
Yeah,
Morris, and
it's
my
getting
discussions with
tiresome.
William Morris, that's what they were looking to negotiate for her on other projects. So I got some of that information from her management team directly.
So her agents were looking to get her as much money as possible.
I think that's the job of an agent. They usually
Right.
try to
They
get
were-
the most
but
money as
your
possible.
Your testimony is they were looking
Fair.
to get the money for her, but you need somebody willing to pay on the other side of that deal, don't you?
Right, but agents are working with people in the industry and have a pulse on have a finger on a pulse of what's going on. So they know who's marketable and what the prices that all the streamers are paying these days.
You haven't seen a single one of the endorsement contracts that you referenced, other than Ms. Heard's?
No, other than again, what I was talking to William Morris in terms of the pricing
'cause
that
she's
they
a
are aware
expert.
of, not only for their own clients, but what's out in the marketplace, and it's pretty consistent. And I've also worked with other actors on other cases.
She's an
that have
expert
gotten
who's
similar
discredited
contracts.
because
So
she's,
I'm familiar
we
with the
want
rates of
Amber Heard to
endorsement
succeed.
contracts.
We want this. We
You
want
haven't
that.
made any
That's
reference to
proper
the
for an
actual
expert.
earnings of any of these actors.
Correct. She doesn't really need
Again,
to, though.
as you do an analysis, you put together the numbers that you
Thank
know
God.
from both
Stop
your
it.
experience and the marketplace.
We're all
and the
missing
agents that are
Camille's
working in the
cross.
marketplace. So together, that's how I created those numbers, and mostly using Ms. Heard's numbers specifically and giving her
If
a very
Camille
steady
gets to
career, which
cross,
is what
that's
she
going to
had
be
had prior
exciting.
To Aquaman.
Yeah, and you don't have the prior earnings of any of the actors you looked at other than Ms. Heard's.
No, I don't have all the contracts now.
You don't have any of that information.
I'm sorry?
You don't have any of that information.
I don't
No.
know why they're
Okay.
going over this long. They need to ask about the other factors that play in,
In fact,
but they
that
also need to be
information,
careful because that sword cuts both
I guess,
ways.
aside from Mr. Memo, is confidential, right?
Usually it is, yes.
And the only reason you know anything about Mr. Memo is that Ms. Heard shares an agent or an
Right, but
agency.
look, I've also been in the industry for many years, and I know what actors get paid. I talk about budgets constantly, so it's not a secret within the industry, the amount that actors in those types of movies are paid very, very well.
You're not currently working as an agent for anyone, are you?
No,
Okay. But could other things have factored into the issue
So
other than the press about the UK?
the
like
salaries of these
the
comparable
leaked
actors,
audio.
did they
They are burning
form
time at this point, it
some
feels like.
basis for your opinion?
no.
Okay. So your opinion
It's
as
based
I
on the
understand
trajectory.
it, is that
Ask about the fucking audio, dude. Come on.
Ms. Heard should have been able to renegotiate an existing contract.
Yes.
Which is standard in the industry as well as with her agent specifically.
Do you know if it's standard with Warner Brothers?
I'm sorry?
oh,
Do you know if it's standard with Warner Brothers?
I don't know if it's standard at any of the studios, but it is standard for agents.
That's a
to
good question.
renegotiate, and oftentimes are successful when the film is done so well.
Right, but what you're talking about is there's an existing contract where Ms. Heard is made
I feel like we've gone in a direction
promise
where we might
that
get
she
new
will
information.
do the next movie for, in this instance, $2 million, right?
Right.
And what the agent is trying to do is to get Warner Brothers to say, hey, you should pay her more than your contract says because you like her? What,
Can't do that. That's
Well,
not how
as Ms.
renegotiation works.
Kovacevic
Yeah,
said, also,
that's what she was
it's
trying to
standard in
do.
the industry, as again, I've been
Renegotiate-
in the
exactly.
industry,
Emily said
I've
it right.
Worked with agents and I've worked with lots of
That's not how
lawyers and,
renegotiations
we
work,
have
and that's what Amber
conversations
Heard
about
tried
what
to
is that
do, and
forgetting
Warner
or
Brothers
what
said,
can they
"Fuck you."
do, or what are they
We're
gonna
not
do
doing
next
that.
time. So again, it's a standard in practice in the industry, especially when a film is as successful as Aquaman, that the agents will go back and renegotiate. In fact, that was
isn't the
conversation.
standard practice is that they would try to renegotiate, but it's up to the studio?
Sure, but
Yeah.
oftentimes in a movie of such as the nature of Aquaman, they're very successful, usually.
But the entirety of your analysis assumes a renegotiation with a studio for terms that are double what
No,
the studio.
'Cause she
had
also had
already
$4
got a
million for the
promise from Ms.
sequel.
Heard she would work for.
she already had $4 million for the
Correct.
sequel.
2 million.
Just ask about the other contributing factors and be done. Please. There are other contributing factors. But we had a very nice lesson about
Have
movies.
you talked to Walter Hamada?
Have I spoken to him? No.
Do you know who he is?
Yes.
Who is he?
He's a senior executive at Warner Brothers, or yeah, I think he still is there,
Oh.
but certainly at the time of the renegotiation, he was a senior executive.
Oh,
And do you know
Everybody
whether he's the
perk back up.
president of DC-based film productions?
I
think
wonder
that's
if
exactly his title,
this
yeah.
is the statement from Warner
Who's in a
Brothers.
better position to determine whether Warner Brothers would renegotiate, you or Mr. Hamada?
Again, I based this on the agents that were talking to Warner Brothers about Mr. Momoa, and they were wanting to talk to them about Ms. Heard as well.
Good, good.
Okay, I'm not
So
sure.
I based my information on them. So the connection should be Mr. Hamada or the agents, not Mr. Hamada and me.
All right. Who's
He's
in a
not an
better,
expert in semantics.
position to know whether Warner Brothers would renegotiate?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Just asking.
I'll sustain the objection. Next
Sorry.
question.
If she knows.
Double standard. Fucking woman.
Are you
review
aware-
any testimony from Mr. Hamada?
I did.
Did you understand that Mr. Hamada says that they want to hold the lawyers, hold the actors to their deals?
That was a philosophy that he said Warner Brothers had, yes.
Did you understand that Mr. Hamada said that nothing Mr. Depp did impacted her compensation?
I don't remember that part of the testimony. You have it available for me to read?
Oh, so you saw it, but you don't remember it. But you
You
saw
don't know
it.
whether Mr. Hamada testified. Did anything Mr. Depp said about Amber Heard affect her compensation?
Well, it could have been Waldman's statements, not Depp's.
Again, I don't
remember. That's
I don't
okay.
recall, I don't recall that testimony, no.
Would it change your opinion if you knew that?
Do you know whether Mr.
I don't know.
Hamada indicated whether he even knew who Adam Waldman was?
Again, I don't remember the conversation about Hamada and Waldman or Depp.
And you don't remember whether Mr. Hamada made any statements as to
Is
whether
Joe asleep?
anything Mr. Waldman said
Uh-oh.
affected Ms.
Is
Heard's
Joe-
compensation?
Y'all, is Joe asleep in court?
In my experience, studios don't talk about how or why they make decisions based on publicity or
Chat.
conversations.
The
They're
studio,
not gonna
Warner
try to
has
protect
actually
them or
released
protect
statements
all the
publicly saying
relationships. So that's
it's
just
not
natural.
because of it's not because of Depp,
Unless
but
you
it's
get him
because
to
of her
testify
own
under oath
statements.
at
It's
the
because of her
deposition.
own actions, and it's because
you
she
have.
lacked chemistry with Jason
Well,
Momoa.
even so, they're not
That's
going to say
why.
anything negative. They may bypass it by being positive, but they're not going to do anything that could potentially damage a relationship that may change or be worthwhile in the future. So that's just what a studio person does.
Mr. Hamada is in the best position to determine whether there were chemistry issues with Ms. Heard.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
He's the president of the company.
Overruled.
They
I don't
wanna
know
get
how
into
involved
this.
Mr. Hamada was on a daily basis in terms of chemistry, but I do know that Warner Brothers did a chemistry test with Ms. Heard and Mr. Momoa before she even got the role. She went in and did what they call a chemistry test. So that was to actually see whether
From
there was good
chemistry
between
test
them.
to
And
after the first movie, can
Evidently, there
it
was good
change?
chemistry because she was then hired to be the romantic interest. So whatever Mr. Hamada said during his deposition, I look at what actually happened in real life, which is she got
Amber's
the
agent
chemistry test and then she
testified
got the job.
last week.
Yeah, let's look what happened in real life. She went in before and took the test. Then she made a movie.
Let's look at what
Then there was
happened
an
in real
existing
life.
movie under which Warner Brothers could then decide whether there was chemistry, right?
The movie worked. It made over $1 billion and they're all over the poster. If they didn't think that there was chemistry, they wouldn't have put Ms. Heard on the poster next to Mr. Momoa. So
You know there were multiple posters for the Aquaman movie.
yes,
And that
there always
three-
are. That's standard.
And that 3 out of the 4 posters, the standard posters for Aquaman, didn't even feature Miss Heard.
Right. So when you make a poster at the studio, it's normal to have 3 or 4 variations because you want to appeal to different people's perspectives. So you want the romantic poster, you want the action poster, you want the superhero poster. So it's normal for them to have many posters, but the romantic poster was of Ms. Heard and Mr. Momoa.
Right. And everyone.
Who else
and
would have
all
been in the
others
romantic
are
one?
Just of Mr. Momoa.
Like we talked about, it's Aquaman, but she was prominent in the ones that that Warner Brothers wanted to appeal to women and to the romantic interest of the consumer.
Get to WB's statement or not, Dennison.
What movies would Ms. Heard have gotten absent Mr. Waldman's statements?
That's a good question.
Well, the ones we know about specifically that she was in conversations with was a movie with Gail Garcelle Bernal, I believe that's how you say his name, at Amazon, which is what Ms. Kovacevic said. And she was also in consideration for a movie called Ambulance with Michael Bay. But again, after the Waldman statements, nobody would talk to the agents. And so they weren't able to garner more. Oh, she also had a movie that she was interested in producing that a good friend of hers, or a friend of hers, or colleague, was doing. So
Okay.
there was at least those three
But
that I read about.
those were 3 movies that she was being considered for, but you don't know what movie she was going to be in.
Well, again, they stopped the conversation after the statement, so we don't know where they would have
Well.
gone, of course. But she was in consideration for all of them, and
But you're
given her fame from
projecting
Aquaman,
movies.
she would have that would have helped all those movies. So it would have made a lot of sense.
You're projecting movies way out into the future that you have no knowledge would ever have gotten made.
Yes.
Well, that's what we do when you talk about comparables and economic damages. You talk about the future. That's standard in our industry as a forensic expert and in the industry. That's how movies are financed, as a matter of fact, is by forecasting
Objection.
what happens in the future.
She's allowed to speculate. She's an
What?
expert.
Connection do you
That's
draw
their job.
between Mr. Waldman's statements and the reported reduction in Ms. Heard's Aquaman
Is
2
court
role?
over yet?
Again, it's just it's the timing of it all. It's the timing of it
It's
all. And
just-
also, they were going to take her out of the movie after the statements, and they put her back in. And then can I talk about the emails that I read? I'm not sure at this point, but
We're talking about the
So-
leaked audio
When you say they're going to
that
take
was
her out of
not
the
flattering
movie,
to Amber Heard that came out
When you
before
have
the
an
Waldman
option,
statements.
you literally have the option whether to include the actress, right? That's what it means.
correct.
So they can choose to exercise the option or not exercise the option. Entirely up to them.
Correct.
And they have that particular studio, to your knowledge, has repeatedly recast even major figures
Fair.
in their DC movies.
We talked about Batman.
What about Superman?
Fair.
You know, I'm not, I think I'm more familiar with the Batman actors. I think there have been a couple actors of Superman, but depending on how the movie performed, if a movie doesn't perform, they'll look for other actors. Or if they want to go a different direction or reboot a franchise, they will look at different actors. So if the
Another
movie's
reason they look-
successful, they're not likely to change the actors, especially not in the second one or the third one.
Another reason they'll look for a different actor or actress, if the actor or actress is charged or asking too much money to play the role again,
That's
correct?
fair.
Yes, not in figures under $10 million, but yes.
Yeah. If you're asking for too much money, you might not get your role again.
You might get yeeted.
And your analysis assumes that Ms. Heard could double her money.
Well, her contracts doubled her money from each one to the next, so
Which
it
is
wasn't
fair.
that
1
large
million
a
to
leap
2,
to
2
do
to
that,
4.
especially when the agents had told me that was what had been, they were considering and what they'd been discussing.
Fair.
All right. You seen the script of Aquaman 2?
Personally,
Please, no more
Yeah.
spoilers.
I did see a draft. I don't know what the date was or when it was or where in the succession of the rewrites it was. I did see one draft, yes.
You don't know what Warner Brothers has in mind for that movie in terms of the kind of movie it's going to be?
It's a superhero movie.
Right. It's supposed to be like a
Okay.
buddy comedy, right?
Dennison, if you spoil
I don't know.
Aquaman,
I don't know about a buddy comedy.
I
It's
swear,
actually a
man,
superhero movie.
this
Who's
isn't
Patrick
helping.
Wilson?
Patrick Wilson. I've heard that name in terms of an actor, but I don't know Mr. Wilson.
All right. Do you know if he appears in Aquaman?
Again, I don't know him by name. If you want to show me a picture, or a clip from the movie.
Do you know if Mr. Wilson appears more
Please
frequently
don't play a
in
clip from a
Aquaman
movie.
than-
We will
than your
get copyrighted
clients?
out of YouTube.
I didn't count the screen time when I watched the movie. It was a long, even when I watched it again, I didn't count the screen time of anybody else.
I don't know if this is helping at this point or if everyone's just bored.
Did you read the testimony of Mr. Hamada?
We might all just be bored.
We discussed that, yes.
You disregarded all of it in your analysis as to
Oh, interesting.
her ability to renegotiate, correct?
Why didn't we get to this question earlier?
Well, I remember the part where Mr. Hamada said that from time to time, they will break their philosophy and renegotiate. It's what they did with Jason Momoa and with Gal Gadot. So, you know.
Which is fair as to
it-
Jason
that
Momoa and
just
Gal
It
Gadot.
coincides with what we know in the industry, which is it can be done.
It's what they did with the two title characters in the DC universe.
Again, I've worked in the business for a long time and I've seen a lot of actors renegotiate their careers. I'm sorry, not their careers, renegotiate their
Contracts.
fees. It's common practice. And it's certainly what the agent will think about first when a movie makes $1 billion+ dollars.
Right. Again, focused on the agent, but it's the studio that pays the bills.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
All right. Your Honor, I have a fair amount more to do.
Can continue.
I'm sorry?
We have a half an hour. Keep
Okay.
asking
I
questions,
didn't know if
Edison.
we're going to 5:30 today or not.
Every day is 5:30 day.
Okay. No, we may not
How-
even need to get there.
Every day is 5:30
All
day.
right, perfect.
The judge sounds
All right.
weary. How much more can you have, Dennison?
You talked about Ms. Heard's endorsement deal with
Your Honor, I
L'Oreal,
have quite a bit more.
Yes.
How? How do you have quite a bit more?
and that L'Oreal has concerns about using her because every time
I think
they
everybody's
try to
trying
use
to,
her,
I think he
people
might just be
respond
speculation.
negatively to her.
Is he just trying to bore the jury so they forget everything she said
People
earlier?
don't, the Depp fan base has responded.
How do you
Has
know?
been, has.
How do you know?
uh,
How do you know it's the Depp fan base?
Posted negative things about Ms. Heard on their campaigns.
How do you
So,
know that?
Did you say the Depp fan base?
She did.
Well, people that were using the hashtags that were consistent with the rest of the Depp fan base.
How do you
Yeah,
know?
but there are people posting negative things that, other than things that
Ooh,
came from Mr. Waldman, correct?
where's Mark Hamill sharing his thoughts?
I
on
haven't
the
seen all
update?
that. I haven't seen all that. That was, I was just looking at what L'Oreal discussed and what L'Oreal said in their communications.
They
We went
made,
from hashtags to L'Oreal. I don't
did you see
know.
L'Oreal make a word cloud of the words that were most commonly associated with Ms. Heard
I don't
and it's,
know why Dennison is not
marketing campaigns?
I knew they
narrowing
did
these
that. I didn't see it
questions.
myself, actually.
Do you know what words there were?
Again, no.
I'm sorry. Your husband's recording VO. We're building a VO room here. I'm very excited about it.
Ladies and
I don't know
gentlemen,
what else he
unfortunately,
can
I
have to
am
do,
going to have to
Dennison.
leave the stream.
We
Audio.
didn't talk much about this, but in order to get to the
Let
damage
me quickly,
analysis that
very
you got,
quickly.
Oh, gosh.
the $45 million, I think at
Hold on
least
a second.
initially you suggested that Ms. Heard would have a role
You might be.
producing and starring in a movie and that she would make $12 million.
Let me go to
I've
chat.
talked about that, but in the latest calculation, that was really less what I considered and more about what films and TV.
And he's
and
running their own
endorsement
clock,
deals
too.
that she would do. The producing was something that she had wanted to do. And again, Mr. Momoa got that. So that's where the agents were discussing those figures.
Let me make sure this is posted. It won't do it. I'm going to have to do this by text. Hold on. All right, so for some reason, it will not let me do this. So if you go to Lawyer Reacts, that's the channel, Emily D. Baker, you can watch it there and enjoy his cross. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow will be a much better day, uninterrupted, but I have to attend a family matter. It won't let me end it. I can't do a single thing. Wow, this is funny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do have to leave, but thank you so much for watching.